Okay, so we're live. I'm going to check that it's all working fine. There's one live stream that I did years ago. I did a whole live stream for an hour, and then I realized that there was no sound. So
I think I remember you said that in one of your videos, your YouTube videos. I think I watched it and I was like, I feel so bad for her.
I know. So every time I go live now, I have to literally
Mm-hmm.
um okay,
Make sure it's working.
it
Oh
works.
wow, I see us.
Okay, it works. Perfect. All right. So okay, somebody's joined. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi.
Welcome to the live stream. Welcome to the virtual book release party. Hi, Bettina. I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly. Hi, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are just going to wait a few more minutes, so about 3 more minutes until 7 p.m. and we're going to start on time. Hopefully, we'll be able to finish on time as well. Um, oh yeah, she said I pronounced her name properly. Okay, thank you. Let us know where you're joining from. Um, yeah, let us know how you're doing today, what you're excited, what you're looking forward to this live stream. Would love to know. And yeah, we'll just wait for a few more people to join, and then we're going to start. Unless Tiffany, if you want to say something.
Oh yes. Well, hi everyone. Well, I will do the official introductions later, but it's nice to be here with Joni. I love her books and I love her as a person. So I'm just thankful that the Lord brought us together a few years ago because she actually introduced me to modern Christian fiction. So I'll be forever grateful for the day that she just reached out to me.
Oh, thank you, Tiffany. Thank you so much. Freedoms? Is it Freedoms or
Wow,
Fran?
Germany. That's nice.
So excited. Much love from Germany. Thank you so very much for joining. Bettina says she's from Philly, aka Philadelphia in the USA. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is blessing my fellow Cameroonian sister. um, I think she's probably like in school still, but the fact that she can like pop into this live stream, I so much appreciate her. So thank you, blessing. She's so amazing. I love her support. Okay, so I'm not sure which pronunciation was right, whether it was the Friedens or Friedens. So, but anyway, either way, I appreciate you being here. Thank you guys so much for joining. Um, Okay, so we've got 1 more minute and then we're going to pray. All right, let's have a look. Okay, so the first one. All right, so Freedoms. All right then. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So I think I'm just going to do the opening prayer and then we're going to just take it from there. So we're going to say a quick prayer and then we're going to start. Heavenly Father, we thank you so very much for today. Thank you for this amazing day, the 24th of September, 2024. It's a day that you have made. Therefore, we're going to rejoice and be glad in it. Thank you for the opportunity for us to be here just to celebrate you, first of all, our maker, to celebrate you, our God, the source of our strength, the source of creativity, the source of the inspiration that we have to write books, to publish books, to share books with the world. You are the one who has made it possible for us to be here just to talk about our love for books, and not just any kind of books, but books that give you glory and books that honor you. We are so grateful, Lord, for the strength and everything that you've done to make this possible. We give you all the glory, and we pray that even as we interact, even as we play games, we answer questions, and everything that we do on this live stream today, I pray that you will be glorified. Come and be with us from the beginning till the end, and in the end we'll give you all the glory. For in Jesus' mighty name we have prayed. Amen. Amen.
And
Okay, so all right, so we have a bit of an outline today, but we're gonna try to make it as interactive as possible. So if you guys have any questions at all, it doesn't matter what we're doing, like whether we're answering questions or playing a game. If you have a question that you want to ask myself or Tiffany, we're going to introduce ourselves in a minute. If you don't know either of us, then please feel free to just pop the question in the live stream, and then we are going to answer as we go along. So over to you, Tiffany.
So, hi everyone. I'm Tiffany Goldman. I'm an avid reader of Christian fiction, whether that's contemporary, romance, historical, or fantasy. I love all of those three equally. I'm also a writer, and I'm working on my debut novel, which is going to be a YA Christian portal fantasy. It's the first in a four-book planned series, and I reside in the South here in Georgia, even though I don't have an accent somehow, and with my husband and my two kids. They're toddlers.
Yes, thank you so much, Tiffany, for joining us today. Little bit of a backstory if you weren't here at the very beginning of the live stream. The way Tiffany and I met, so this was way back in 2021 when I was, I think, a few months leading up to the release of the first book in the series. So the one who knows me, I get confused now with the titles as well. I was just, trying to, because at that time nobody, yeah, that one, the one Tiffany's holding up. Nobody knew me, of course, because I was a debut author. Well, not a debut author, but a debut fiction author, because I published a devotional before that. But nobody knew me in the Christian fiction space, and I just wanted to reach out to all the other Christian authors or Christian readers, because I know Tiffany is a reader as well as an author. Just to get in touch and connect. And she was one of the people that I messaged amongst, I think there were like 50 other authors or bookstagrammers that I messaged, and she very, very kindly accepted to support me. She read the advanced reader copy, and since then it's just been so amazing to work with her. She has beta read for me as well. You beta read the third book, didn't you? The One Who Sees Me, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Um,
Yes.
she's beta read, those books for me, and she's just been so supportive. And I just could not wait to have her do a release party with me. So that's why she's here. She's a very wonderful friend of mine, and I hope that someday we'll be able to share her books as well. So yeah, I'll leave. Well, we'll talk about your socials at the end of the stream, but I'll also leave any links to her Instagram and stuff down below. She does like lots of interviews, like interviews with other Christian authors. So if you want to find and discover other Christian authors, Christian fantasy, stuff like that, then make sure you follow Tiffany. Anyway, I was going to
Oh, thank you.
tell you that I'm so grateful that you're here. And
Oh,
then for me, if anybody doesn't know who I am, my name is Joan Mbola. Well, that's my pen name. Joan Mbola Ido is my name because I'm married to Dr. Ido. I'm Cameroonian Nigerian. The Mbola is from the Cameroonian side. The Ido is from the Nigerian side because my husband is Nigerian. But I do write Christian books, Christian devotionals, but also Christian romance books. My whole motto as an author is to share God's love one word at a time, and I'm doing that through writing books, through the videos that I share on YouTube, through lots of services that I offer for other Christian authors as well, and hopefully next, coming up soon in the next few years, hopefully through also a non-profit foundation as well that I'll be
wow.
launching in the next few years. So yeah, that's a bit of a nutshell about what I do. The books that I write, I think the main thing is to shed the light of God in our broken world, because we do have a lot of darkness in the world that we are today. But even though my books address lots of these deep themes, whether it's rejection or mental health struggles or suicide or all of those different things, the aim of them is to always point to the love and goodness of God. So if these sound, great to you, then make sure you check out these books. The links are always in the description. So we've got somebody else. Angeli, thank you so much for being here. If you've just joined us and you haven't introduced yourself, we would love you to introduce yourself and let us know where you are joining from. Okay, over to you then, Tiffany.
Okay, so I'm going to be reading the blurb for the new book, The One Who Holds Me. I don't have my physical copy yet, but I just want to show this is the beautiful cover,
Yeah.
and I'm going to be reading the blurb. So, is God sovereign under over uncertainties? While trying to overcome grief, Olana Maudu faces another blow when when her college sweetheart abruptly ends the relationship. Now, 2 years later, Olana is healing from the hurt as she navigates her new life as the CEO of her family's business. But when her ex shows up at her office as her new client, not only does the pain resurface, but also the feelings for him she once thought had died. If Alex Obig
Obeng. Yeah.
Obing
Obeng, yeah.
okay, had a blank check for any prayer answered, he would ask God to turn back the hands of time so he could explain to Alana why he broke her heart. But his desperate attempts to reach out to her for the past 2 years had been futile. When Alex is sent to New Jersey to work with Olana's company, it seems God has answered all his prayers until he stands face to face with her and can't bring himself to tell her the truth without opening his old wounds. With the rekindled feelings growing stronger every day, Olana has to decide whether to give Alex a second chance or protect her heart from getting burned again. As the pressure mounts on Alex to fight for the woman he loves, he has to choose between being vulnerable enough to tell her the truth and letting her go again. The One Who Holds Me, Book 4 in the Sovereign Love series, is a dual timeline standalone novel about second chances and learning to trust in the sovereign goodness of a loving God who holds our future securely in his hands. That is the wonderful book by Joni.
Much. Thank you so much. I am going to now read just a little bit of the first chapter, just to give you guys a bit of a teaser if you haven't read the book. But you can always read a sample of like the first three chapters, I think, on Amazon. Thank you so much, Anisha. Thank you so much for joining. Like I said, do let us know where you're joining from, and yeah, and how you're doing today. So I'm going to read chapter 1. So this is in Olana's what's it called, her point of view, and God help me with the non-English the non-English words. I'm gonna try my best to pronounce it properly. I should be able to, because I'm a quarter Igbo and Olana is Igbo, so I should be able to do that. Okay, this is chapter 1 from Olana's point of view, from the one who holds me. Okay. One thing I can't resist doing at Nigerian parties is eavesdropping on the gossip the aunties spread about the people they know. Yes, I know I shouldn't, but Nigerian aunties are loud. If Auntie Funke chooses to announce to the entire world that Bolande dumped Chidinma and moved on to find his next target, I can't walk up to her table and tell her to shut up, can I? While we all know it's rude to broadcast someone's private business at a public gathering, I know better than to get myself involved. I never know the people being talked about, and if mom was still alive and here with me, she'll tell me to drink water and mind my business. What I find interesting is that on my way home from these parties, I never think about the aunties or the people they were talking about. But what always remains etched in my memory is the heartbreaking love stories. It can never be me, I used to tell my naive self. How can people who appear to be so in love grow apart and break up? What could possibly go wrong that would cause a relationship to go from 100 to 0 with no warning? How can a love that was once so alive become so dead and cold? I used to wonder about all these things until the day it happened to me. Thank God I kept my relationship with Alex off social media, and I don't regret doing that because with the way it ended, I wouldn't have been surprised if I heard an auntie narrating our tragic love story at a random Nigerian party. For the first 2 months of our relationship, only Danielle and India, my close friends from college, knew about us. Then I later told my brother, Manny, when he suspected I was dating someone. His wife, Heather, who was his girlfriend at the time, was the next person I told, and they were so good at keeping it discreet. My plan was to introduce Alex to dad on college graduation day, but that plan blew up in my face when Alex broke up with me 2 months into senior year. I never got closure, and that sucks. Some days I pat myself on the back for blocking his number and deleting it from my phone, but other days I chide myself for ignoring his emails for the last 2 years. But who cares about that? Certainly not me. I've moved on, and that's why I won't spend any more of my precious time thinking about him. It's been 2 years, for goodness sake. A soft knock on the door forces me to lift my head, and Lerato, my personal assistant, pokes her head into my office. Good morning. Can I come in? Of course. I welcome the distraction while sending a silent prayer up to God. I need Him to expel all thoughts of Alex from my mind so I can focus on being the boss babe I am. Lerato lets herself in, her notepad and pen in hand, and her big curly afro bouncing as she strides in like the South African beauty she is. Only Loretta's hair can wind up my desire to comb out my locks so I can start wearing an afro again. But I've been at this junction too many times and I know better. Locks suit my busy lifestyle more. Here's your cookies and cream frappuccino as you requested. She places the drink in front of me before settling in the chair across my desk. Thank you so much. I don't know what I'll do without you. Girl, you're the CEO of a multi-million dollar company, one of the fastest growing healthcare marketing companies in Jersey City. I'm sure you'll be just fine without me, Loretta chuckles. You can't be too sure about that, I say before sipping on the cold drink, taking my time to savor its sweet and creamy texture before focusing on the task at hand. So, what's our day looking like? I open my Filofax planner and Loretta turns on the iPad with our daily, weekly, and monthly schedules. Well, it's a full day of back to back meetings, starting with the end of the week meeting with the managers at 9 a.m. But you asked me to schedule some time with your dad. He's already waiting for you downstairs in conference room A. Thanks, girl. Please tell him I'll be out in 5 minutes. When Lorato is out the door, I pause and take 5 deep breaths in and out. This usually helps, but so far today it has done nothing to calm my nerves. It's bad enough that October is officially my worst month and I don't know what to do with all these emotions about Alex, but now I also have to worry about dad, who randomly decided a few weeks ago he'll be visiting Nigeria for a month, the same place where mom died. I tip my head back to keep the tears from falling, but it doesn't work. So I stand up and walk up to my window. Dabbing on the tears at the corner of my eyes, I stare at the beautiful view of the Jersey City skyline and Hudson River outside. It's on days like this that I'm grateful my office doesn't have glass walls like the offices downstairs. My staff don't need to see me shedding tears whenever a memory of mom pops in my head, or when I remember how hurt I still am from the breakup with Alex. Lord, please help me deal with these emotions. After counting down from 10, I'm able to think clearly again, so I straighten out the creases on my beige pantsuit, tighten the ponytail on my burgundy locks, and walk out the door, my heels sending click clack sounds down the hallway. After making it 2 floors down in the elevator, I walk out into the open plan office, putting on my brave CEO face again. One thing I love about my team is that they take their work seriously. That's why I'm never disappointed whenever I come down here. Morning, everyone. I walk over to Yin, Melissa, and Neil, who look up from their group discussion. Morning, boss. Yin, Manny's best friend, who is also the managing director here at Madhu Health, answers for the group. Ooh, I love the pantsuit. Melissa clicks her fingers at me, and my cheeks warm up because now I know they're all looking at me. Well, thank you. I reach for a lock strand to flip, but then I remember I'm wearing a ponytail today, so I let my hand brush awkwardly against my shoulder before turning to Yin. I'm going to have a quick meeting with my dad, and then we can meet in the office. Is that okay? Okay. I'll get the others ready for our meeting at 9. See you upstairs, boss. He nods, and I walk away. Outside the conference room, I take a deep breath and push open the door to find Dad facing the same view of the Jersey City skyline. He has one hand in his pocket and the other resting on his decorated walking stick. With him wearing his white kaftan and black cap, you would think he's on his way to a wedding ceremony and not about to spend 11 hours on a flight to Lagos. I've yet to meet an Igbo man who loves his culture more than my dad. Dad? He turns around and sends me the warmest smile before opening his arms wide. I walk straight into his embrace, his warm sage scent saturating my nostrils and providing a safe and familiar space for me. He doesn't know how much I need this hug and how much I need him to stay. Kedu kind mere? He asks in Igbo when we break the hug. Adima, I respond, proud that I've finally learned how to respond to some of his questions. Are you sure you're okay? He lifts my chin so I can look him in the eye. I want to lie, but knowing Dad, he'll only keep pressing until I tell him. Dad, do you really have to make this trip? 1 month is too long. Could you stay for now and go another time? Or better still, never? Ezigbo, it has been 4 years. I can't keep postponing it. You know I have many businesses and projects in Lagos. I'm grateful that God helped me find trustworthy people to manage them, but I need to oversee some things myself. He squeezes my shoulders and I lower my head again, trying to keep the tears in. It's just that I'm scared and I'll be fine, he cuts in before my thoughts wander off. God will take care of me, okay? To give him a reluctant nod. I could beg him some more and try using my princess privilege to get him to stay. Being the only girl and last born of the family can only get you so far. On this one, I'll be fighting a lost battle. Once Chijioke Madu makes up his mind, it only takes a divine intervention to change it. So I have to take a step back and keep praying until he returns safely. I'm so proud of you, my dear, he continues. You stepped up. You stepped up to the CEO role as a CEO with very short notice, and you've done extremely well taking over from me. I have to admit, I was a little worried about whether you will handle the workload, but you have surprised me with your strength and determination. You will do amazing. I have no doubt about that. Okay, that's it. I tried
That
my
was
best.
some lovely, lovely reading.
I tried my best with the Igbo words, but yeah, those were the first five, I think five or so pages of the one who holds me. So let's have a look. So Anisha says she's from Little Rock, Arkansas. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, my husband's from there too. So
Really?
Arkansas in the house.
There you go. Well done. And this is Bella. Bella is also my one of my Cameroonian sisters, my Cameroonian friends. So thank you so much, Bella, for joining in. So yeah, let's have a look. Oh, gosh, we've got quite a few of you on. Thank you guys all so much for joining. Please, please, please let us know where you're joining from. Keep posting in the chat. Would love to would love some activity in the chat. The more you guys post stuff in the chat, the
Yes.
more fun it's going to be. So thank you guys so much. And this is Tokpe, guys, Tokpe Butter Show. I did mention her earlier in the live stream. She's also a Christian fiction author. If you have not checked out her books, please, please, please go and check her out.
Yes.
She has
I have
really lovely books.
those.
Do you have some of her books? I have it on my.
This is
Oh
my favorite.
my gosh, you've got brown roses. Look at it. Look at it right there. I
It's
love
so beautiful.
it's my favorite in the series, in her flower series so far. So go and check out whatever. She has so many books. She has like over 10 books. So please do
Mm.
check her out. Thank you, Topper, for joining. Angeli says congratulations. Thank you so much. Bella says she's joining from LA. Ooh, okay, okay. Thank you guys. We've got a lot of American peeps here. So thank you guys so much for joining in. I really appreciate it. So, okay, now we're going to go into our Q&A so that we can crack on. So, yeah, you're going to ask me some questions.
Yes.
And if you guys
Okay,
have,
so
well, just leave them in the chat.
so I was wondering because I love all the titles in your books. I love how it kind of like relates to the love story between man and woman, but more so importantly between God and us. So your titles is just beautiful. And so I was wondering which comes first or which came first for you, the titles or the story?
That is an interesting question. I think I'm gonna go all the way back to book one because I think after book one, the titles were kind of easier to to come up with. But with the first book, I don't think that was the title. It wasn't The One Who Knows Me. I think I went through a few titles
Oh.
before I landed on that one. But I can't remember what the first title was, to be honest. I think with book one, it was slightly different. I did write the story, like I did write the first draft first. And then as God continued to help me figure out what the actual overarching theme was, I then was able to come up with a title, like to actually come up with a title that stuck. I didn't actually think that it was going to be a series or going to become a series. Obviously, a few months after I was going to publish this book, then I realized, okay, I got the idea to write The One Who Loves Me, which is the second book. But after the first book, where I'd written the story first, and then the title was inspired by the overarching theme, when I got to book two, book three, book four, the title always came first, and that's because of
Mm.
well, not that it came first. The story idea always comes first. Let me rephrase. The story idea comes first, and then I then figure out what the title will be before I start drafting. So I think it comes with the way.
Ah.
So I would know who is going to be about. I'll always pick a character because obviously
Mhm.
characters. We see all the characters.
Mhm.
I'll say, okay, for example, with book three, The One Who Sees Me is going to be about Heather
Mhm.
and Emmanuel. I know what the Thank you. I know what the Daniel's arc is going to be like. I know what Heather's arc is going to be like. And then before I actually did the blurb and then the outline, I chose a title so that every time
Mhm.
I am writing the book, I will go back to that title and make sure that I stick with it. And this was very important, especially with
Mm.
this last book, The One Who Holds Me, because if you notice, you have the title, then I always pick a Bible verse as well, which kind of relates to that title. I had to really, really make sure that I went back to keep showing that, okay, the story needs to show how God holds us through, uncertainties and things like that. So, yeah, I think with the first book, I wrote the story first before I had the title. But with the other three books, even though the story idea came first, I did have the title before I drafted the book, if that makes sense.
Yes, it makes perfect sense. And I think I remember you're one of those writers, right, that writes the blurb before you draft because it helps keep you on point. I just love that because
Yeah.
blurbs scare me, but it seems like if you can get over that, it'll help you like tighten up your plot or something like that.
I always write the blurb because I feel like it helps me to make sure that I stick to the sort of like story structure. I feel like if I don't have a blurb, and I don't know what I'm actually. It's because that's the blurb is part of my outlining process, so it's kind of like the skeleton, like the summary of the book, and then from there I can flesh it out to make sure that I hit those points. That's why one of the things that I do with my beta readers, one of the questions I ask, and you would know this probably, Tiffany, is I always ask them, do you think that the blurb fits the story? So you've read the blurb, now you've read the story. Do you think that there's anything in the blurb that the story didn't sort of address? And then if they say, oh, okay, you mentioned in the blurb that this happened, but I didn't really see that in the story, then I can go back and sort of like flesh that out. So it really does
That's
help me. It really does help me to draft it well. So yeah.
I'm taking a note of that for better readers. Okay. Um, so the second question, so I realized that I need to adjust the way I worded this question because it's a dual. Oh, well, hold on. We have a question here in the comment section.
Sure, sure,
Um,
sure. By the way, Iyana's joined us, so thank you so much. She's joining in from Nigeria. She says congratulations. Thank you so much. Okay, so Angeli says, how do you not get stressed about about the first draft? As a perfectionist, whenever it's time for me to write, I write something, but I don't feel satisfied with it. Listen, first drafts are, to be honest, I find the first draft stressful. I feel like the first draft tends to be the one that if I overcome that hump, I feel like things can get easier. I don't like developmental editing, but even with developmental editing, it's still you're not starting from scratch. I think the problem with
mhm.
that you're not work. There's nothing for you to work from. There's nothing for you to build from. Build from. It's just from like a blank page. The thing about being a perfectionist, and it can really struggle with writing the first draft, is because the first draft is not going to be perfect. So I suppose you just need to get to that point where once you accept that fact that every single writer and every single author never writes a perfect first draft. If they tell you that it's perfect from the get-go, they're lying to you. I don't trust authors who say that they only write one draft and then that's it. Like, they're lying to you. I think with any creative, whether you're a songwriter or I don't know, a filmmaker, whatever, you always have some sort of rough like draft. That's why it's called a draft, because you know that that's not the final product. You're always going to build from that. That's why you have the editing phase. What I tend to do is that as I'm writing, I just train my brain not to go back to stress over what I've written. My goal, that's why I always give myself a deadline. I was like, okay, I need to finish this writing this first draft by this date, so that I just literally put the story out there. Once the story is out there, you can edit it. Trust me, you will rewrite it and line edit and proofread until you bring it to that level of perfection that you want. But if you keep going back and say, okay, I'm not satisfied. I've written so many scenes I've not been satisfied with, and I've read it, I've been like, this sounds like crap, basically, like this doesn't sound great. But I feel like you won't progress until you get to that point as an author where you're just like, I'm not satisfied with it. This is not my best, but I just have to move on because this first draft is not going to be perfect and I'm going to come back to it. I know it's easier said than done. But you have to try. And Bella says, even right
Exactly.
days. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I think that's was well said. And I recently came across a quote that said something about what you've written is not set in stone. So just repeat that in your mind as you're writing this first draft. What you write is not set in stone. It's a prototype, like Joni was saying. It's not the final product, but you have to have a prototype before you get to the last stage of the product. So, which is your story.
Definitely. Thank you for that question, Angeli.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was a good question.
yeah, that was a really good
So,
question. Thank you so much.
So back what I was saying, so your book is a dual timeline. It's not a split time novel. So I was wondering, with The One Who Holds Me, it's your first dual timeline novel. And so I was wondering, what was your experience like writing this type of novel? And did it challenge you, or was it relatively easy to navigate when you were writing it?
So it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was easy. It came with its own challenges, but it wasn't. It's not the most difficult book I've written, I suppose. Actually, I don't even know if it's the most difficult book, but I say what the reason that made it a little bit easier for me is because I knew that this was new territory that I was going into. I knew I'd never written this before. So what I did was the avid Christian
Yes.
readers Facebook group. I don't know if you saw a post that I put on there like a year ago. So I basically went on there and I asked them, I'm going to write a split, like a dual timeline novel. Please, can you guys give me like suggestions? Because obviously, those girls read like, oh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I asked them for some, like some suggestions of dual timeline books, and I wanted books that weren't too like far apart because a lot of the split time or dual timelines, you get one in like a contemporary setting and you
Yeah.
get one in like historical.
Historical.
So, but I wanted something that was a little bit more close together. So, I mean, a lot of the ones that they suggested were kind of, historical and present day, but actually it was fine. I read, I think, maybe one book that had a dual timeline just to see how things were done at the time. And then I also read some other suggestions. And then once I saw how things were done, I said, okay, fine. I just need to basically go for it. I did an out. So I'm an outliner. I basically did an outline for the door timeline because I wanted the door timeline to focus more on Alex, because I know that readers would have probably left book 3 with a lot of questions like, why did Alex do this?
Yeah.
So I wanted the dual timeline was for Alex to tell, to tell Alex's story, what actually happened 2 years, or yeah, 2 years before. And then
Mm-hmm.
the now timeline was for Olana, basically just to see how she was, working, overcoming the heartbreak, learning to trust God again, and things like that. So I just outlined, made sure that I did a solid outline for the then timeline, and I did a solid outline for the now timeline, and then I just wrote it, chronologically as it went. Once I read a book about how it was done, I wasn't too scared anymore. I went through it, did the outline, and then I just started writing, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah.
I would say you did well for it to be like I would get to a certain part like at the end of one chapter and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, how's this gonna end?" And then it's like then we're switched back into a different time, but that one's equally engaging,
Mm.
intense, depending on what the scenario is. So then
Yeah.
it's like I want to be in both scenes and find what happens. So you just got to keep flipping pages to see how does both timelines wrap up, you know?
Yeah.
So
And that's the thing that I wanted to, because obviously it's difficult, because obviously you need to make sure that both timelines are engaging enough for the reader to want to keep reading. I didn't want it to be um I didn't want the readers to be more invested in one timeline than the other. I wanted to keep some level of suspense. And the thing about it also is that you need to break it up at the right point, and you need to insert, like, they need to kind of coincide. So that's why I had to outline them together, to know that, okay, if we're pausing here with the then timeline, when we move back to the now timeline, something that is going to be said in the now timeline is going to prompt, the flashback to the then
mhm.
timeline. So yeah, it was a bit tricky, but I think I got the hang of it in the end. Maybe
Yes.
I'll have a book like that in the future, who knows. I think it's just going to depend on the story. So yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm here. Whatever book you write, I'm there already.
Okay, so congratulations. Thank you. That's my brother-in-law. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, for instance, ask what your next project. Okay, we're gonna talk about that. I'll hang on to this question. We'll talk about that towards the end of the live stream. We'll come back to that. And Blessing, yes, she says she's one of the people who had a beef with Alex, and basically Blessing beta read book 4 for me, and I wanted specifically her. I asked her to beta read it because I knew that she had so many emotions coming from book 3. So I really, really wanted to see whether she found that there was a satisfying end to this story. So yeah, it's good to listen to your readers sometimes. So yeah.
Yes.
um yeah.
I think that's the mark of a good writer is when you can take like something a reader said and then like build upon it with your next book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this one is a spoilerly question. So I'm giving an alert to everybody. If you haven't read The One Who Holds Me, then if you could just pop off for a second or a couple of minutes and then you can pop back on if you're one of those people that don't want to be spoiled, okay? So just give you like a minute or two because I would say it's worth experiencing the book like
Yeah.
without knowing anything, which is why I'm actually glad I didn't see that avid Christian readers post
Yeah.
because I was just more shocked at
Yeah.
what I read in the arc. I was like, wow, I did not see none of this coming, but it makes so much sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And interestingly, as well as asking them what, like, so Dwell Timeline books suggestions, I also asked them for list of, because basically at that time I knew that the reason why Alex broke up with Olana was a good reason, or good reason, justifiable reason from his end, but
Yeah.
I didn't know what the reason was. Literally, when I wrote that broke up in The One Who Sees Me, I didn't know why they broke up. I just wrote that they broke up, and I was like, oh my gosh,
Oh
now I
no.
justify what actually happened. So I actually went on the group chat, on that group, the Facebook group, and I asked them, so if you guys have read second chance romance books, like, can you tell me what are the common reasons that, because I haven't read many second chance romance books.
Mm-hmm.
okay, what sort of reasons did you guys see that, the couples broke up? And then I had a lot, obviously those girls are so helpful. They gave me so many suggestions, and then from those suggestions, I kind of built from that. So I didn't it wasn't one particular thing. It was just one thing. I was like, okay, that sounds like a good idea. Okay, he was this person. One of them was had issues with, like, the way they saw themselves, or weren't very confident. Okay, we can take
Mhm,
that and then build upon it. So there was no
mhm.
response. I said, I'm definitely going to go with that, but it gave me some sort of idea for me to work from. So that group was very helpful because I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, I think next time if I have some question, I'm gonna go to that group and ask.
They're helpful because they're readers. They've read so many books, and I feel
Mhm,
like from an author
mhm.
perspective, it's good to ask readers as well because they're so helpful. Yeah.
Yes. So now that we've given some people some time to pop off, my question was, so like I said earlier, I was surprised when we read Alex's birth and adoption story.
Mhm.
And so, it was heartbreaking in some aspects. Like I actually like had a few tears because it was like I just can't imagine what it was like, you know. Um, and so, but we did see the Lord how He did a Romans 8:28 for our Ghanaian prince. And so I was wondering what inspired you to touch on adoption in this book. And I just wanted to say that you did a wonderful job with this and how it tied with the theme.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. So this is funny. I don't know if anybody has read this book and has read the author's notes at the end of the book. I did write on there that the adoption side of the story actually came, like, as I was like trying to outline it. It wasn't planned. Like, it wasn't actually planned. So it was actually inspired by, I don't know if you guys watched this show called Paternity Court. It's a show on YouTube. It's based in the US actually, but basically these people who don't know who their real fathers are go on and have a DNA test, and then you figure out whether the man you've brought in is actually your father or not. There was one particular episode, I don't remember when that episode, but I watched it, I think, a few months before I did the outline for this story, where this young man, I think his sister or cousin or some other family member took both of them to the paternity court, and they wanted to do a test for the guy who they thought was their father their whole life. And then they did the DNA test and found out that, of course, this guy was not the father. Then the lady who was involved, who had been keeping secrets from them, actually told
Mhm.
him, this poor guy, I think he was like 17 or 18, told him that actually she's also not his mother, that the guy who she'd brought in was not his father, she's also not his mother. And he said that his real mom, actually, I think she had passed away, or I don't know whether she left him or something like that. And basically they had adopted him, like taking him as their own, but he had no idea about this. Like, it was such like a bomb, literally like a bombshell news
Yeah.
exploded in his face. And I remember the pain in that young man's eyes. Like, I almost shed a tear. Like, the judge actually
Yeah.
take him to like the private room, like take the family to a private room, and he couldn't even speak. He was just crying. And I just imagine like what was going through his mind. Like, his whole life, 17, 18 years of his life, he had thought that, this was his family, that his identity,
Mhm.
this is my mom, this is my dad. And then just for you to realize this way on national television that actually
Yeah.
these are not your parents, and that you've been lied to your whole life. So basically that was the major inspiration for me to explore that from like a Christian perspective, to see if that were to happen to somebody who is a Christian, how that's going to destabilize them, how they're going to process those things, what they're going to think about, being adopted. And just I just basically wanted to explore that, really. And so that was the inspiration for that.
Yes. Um, I see that Blessing said she had a very big beef.
Yeah, beef with Alex, but Alex and I are fine now, thank God. um, uh, um Ashanti says, do you think you'll explore the writing genres in the future, or will you stick with romance and devotionals? By the way, love you wearing the same color as your book. Thank you so much. To be honest, I think I'll answer this question quickly. I think I'm gonna stick more with Christian romance. I think because that's what I think as an author, that niche I think I'm comfortable with. The book that I'm hopefully going to publish in 2026, which has already been written, it's a book that's set in Cameroon. I wouldn't say it's like a romance. It's more of kind of, I don't even know if I can say it's literary fiction, but like if you've read for my Nigerians who are on the chat, if you've read Half of a Yellow Sun by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, you would know that it's kind of like it's African literature, but kind of like literary fiction, but then it also has a romance subplot on it. Like I'm never gonna write a book that doesn't have romance in it. So the book that hoping to publish in 2026 is kind of like Half of a Yellow Sun, but make it Christian and make it set in Cameroon and not Nigeria. So that's the only sort of like slight shift that I think I might go from like, plain Christian romance. But I'm never gonna write a book. I don't think, never say never, but I don't think that in the near future, at least, I'll write a book that's not like Christian romance. But yeah, thank you for that question. Ianu says, my mom is a huge fan of Paternity Girl. Girl, I watch it. Like, it's so juicy. Like, all this, like, literally, you just know that people, like, some of the stories are so heartbreaking and so sad. And sometimes it just makes you appreciate if you're part of, like, if you come from, say, for example, a functional family, or you have a parent in your life that has been there for you, or some sort of parental figure in your life, or gardeners, it just makes you appreciate those who are around you, like your mentors, because you see a lot of these people out there who are so lost or feel so lost because they don't know who their father is, and they're just looking for any sort of truth to cling to so that they can find out what their identity is. But then at the end of the day, I suppose one of the major themes I was trying to put out in the book is that even though, because as you would know, I'm not going to spoil it, even though you know what happened with Alex, the major thing as Christians to know that we are God's children first. And although not everybody comes from a functional family, not everybody will know who their father is or their mother is, or, that doesn't mean that you're cast away, or that you're, it doesn't mean that you're seen any less in the eyes of God. And I think that that's just one thing that I wanted to portray in the book. So yeah.
Yes, and I think that if this is a book I want to recommend to everybody, because it's like whether their experience is Alex's experience or not, I feel like it's one of those books that would help like boost your empathy as for your fellow man, you know? So
Yeah.
well done.
Okay.
Um, so let's see here. So I know this is gonna be a really hard question, but which couple out of your four books, imagine I got the one who holds me as well. And which one is your favorite pairing?
I don't think it's a hard question at all.
Oh,
Hard question.
oh,
I have a favorite. I know I'm not supposed to, but I do have a favorite. Raymond and Amara, hands down. Raymond and Amara.
it's
I cannot.
look at how cute
Yeah,
this cover is.
I think I've said this before, but the reason why I have so much like what's the word? A bond or whatever to, or attachment to these two characters, is because I think I might have told you this before, that the story of these two people actually was inspired, or Raymond's character was inspired by my husband. So when I wrote that story in 2020, I think when I wrote the first draft, it was because I had experienced, like, some of it. It's not my story, it's not our story, absolutely not. But the foundation of it was inspired by the relationship I have with my husband, and meeting, because my husband is also Nigerian and he was born in Nigeria, and also he has kind of similar things, but he's also very different from Raymond. So I don't know, there's something about those two that I just cannot explain. Like, yes, I love
Yes.
Tiana and Jaden. Yes, I love Manny and Heather. Yes, I love Alex and Olana. But I just, I can't explain it. And there's a lot of people that do agree as well. Like they really love, like Bella is saying
Yeah,
that
Bella.
too. So a lot of readers agree as well. So yeah.
I feel like I have to reread all the books or at least the first three, and then I'll make my choice. Because
Yeah.
it's hard because they're all so cute
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
I can totally see why Amara and Raymond is your favorite.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and Jelly agrees as well.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you guys. We could probably take
Uh,
one question and then play the first game. Yeah.
okay. Okay. So, if someone likes your books,
Yeah.
what other books would they probably like?
Okay. So that's a good question actually, because I actually thought about it because I know a lot of like Christian authors as well who do write romance, who are addressing sort of like deep themes as well. And if you were here earlier in the live stream when my friend Topper popped up, I said that Topper Motosha does write Christian romance books as well as one of her books, Brown Roses, that have, you know, tackle like deep themes as well. And the thing about Topper is that she's not scared to literally go there. Basically, she has written a character who is suffering from like burn injury. She has written characters suffering from oh gosh, what's that skin condition? Oh my gosh, it's just gone off my head.
Vitigo?
Yes, vitiligo. She has
Yes.
so many like, you know, she's gone there really in the deep end. And I love the fact that whenever I read her books, I just never know how the character's gonna get out of this. And I'm just like, you put this character in such a difficult place. How is this gonna, you know, survive? How's it gonna end? So if you're looking for other books as well, definitely recommend Topper's books. Iyanu as well, who is on Livestream. Iyanu is also an author. She's published two books. I think she published two books this year. She writes about like broken people and just how God's light shines through them. Her two books, Love's Beacon and Love's Direction. I helped Beta read Love's Direction a few years ago. So if you're looking for those kind of books that really, really uh explore sort of like the human nature of us, but then also how God's love shines through, I would recommend her books as well. There's another author friend or author that I follow on TikTok and Instagram. Her name is Kara Joy. That's her pen name, Kara Joy. I've read one of her books as well, and I do think that her books are actually quite you know, quite good as well in terms of exploring like different themes and deep themes, and also how God's light will shine through. Tony Shiloh is another
Oh,
Christian
I've heard of her too.
popular Christian. She's both like traditionally published and independently published. So I've read only one or two of her books. I do like her writing and the things that she explores. So I would recommend her books. Well, I'll recommend her to check her out because I haven't read all her books. I'm yet to still read the one about the princess that goes back to, oh my gosh, what's it called? Something princess. I can't remember now. If somebody
To
has,
Steal a Prince?
oh, what was that again?
To Steal a Prince?
It's still a Princess book two, I think. I can't remember the name of book.
Oh,
I have bought it. It's on my Kindle. I just haven't read it. But yeah, I think those are the authors that come to mind. And I think, yeah, it'll be good to check them out. Yeah.
yes, build up your TBR.
Yeah, Mara and Raymond are goals. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, In Search of a Prince.
Prince. Like I knew somebody would know it. Thank you so much. Yeah, I still need to read that book. It has such a beautiful cover. I don't
It
know
does.
how I haven't read it but I need to read it at some point. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so guys, we're going to do a quick little, well, I don't know if it's going to be quick, but it's going to be a fun game here. Um, it's going to be like Mad Lib. And so the way it works is that if you guys remember, I read the blurb earlier, like the actual blurb for The One Who Holds Me. So what we're going to do is you guys here in the chat, you're going to, if I say the first word we need or is a noun, you just drop a noun. It could be a random, whatever comes to your mind, just drop it in the chat. And then I'm going to pick that word and then I'm going to rebuild the official blurb with some of the words that you provided. So hopefully what comes out is something that's hilarious.
Okay.
So, so the first word we do need is a noun, which is a place. So if you would just supply us some couple of suggestions and then I will pick one.
Yeah, you guys just let us know. Give us any noun or which is a place that comes to your mind, and then that's gonna help Tiffany. Okay, we've got we've got one. We're gonna wait for a few more suggestions. Ooh, okay.
Okay. Oh, you guys are putting some good ones.
Oh gosh, yeah, they've got really good ones here. Um, Sports arena, goodness, gosh, we've got loads. You've got lots to pick from then.
I know.
Okay, we can probably like move on to the next word now.
Okay, so the next word that we need is an adjective, which is a word that modifies a noun or pronoun.
So, okay, we'll wait for some suggestions. Um, if and we can also probably answer one question whilst they're thinking.
Okay. Yes. So let's see here. Um, so whenever I read one of your books, there's always some kind of delicious meal that's being described somewhere in the story. So
Yeah.
I was wondering, have you ever cooked one or more of the dishes from your books just so you can enjoy it in real life?
Yes, 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 of course. The thing that I love about obviously, or the thing that I pride myself in as a Christian author is that I want to, showcase the diversity that comes from the African continent. As you know, that I am Cameroonian Nigerian, but I do also try to touch on like other cultures as well. So that's why you would see Cameroonians and you talk about Ghanaians, and especially in this book, there's a lot about the Ghanaian culture and things like that. And Cameroonians and Nigerians, especially English speaking Cameroonians, which where I'm from, we do share like quite similar meals with Nigeria. So yes, I do cook a lot of these meals, jollof rice. In fact, I had jollof rice for dinner this evening, but my mum made that one, not me. But yes, jollof rice, fried rice, egusi soup, okra soup. Um, what else? What else? What else? I'm trying to think. But that's like the main ones, and then the other foods is mainly sort of like a lot of Cameroonian dishes, which in my future books, because in my next series we're going to talk about later, I am going to explore a lot more about the Cameroonian culture. So I'm gonna write a lot more about like Cameroonian dishes and stuff like that. But yeah, in a nutshell, I do cook some of these meals, and they're very delicious. And Tiffany, you should definitely try making that jollof rice.
Yes, yes. I told Joni that I have to challenge myself. I asked her to send me some videos. So if I make, which I will, make my, jollof rice, I'll take a picture
Yeah.
and I'll put it right next to the book, The One Who Holds Me, and say this book made me do this.
Yes, definitely.
The Jollof War. So
So we have lots of
that
on there for
that's
you.
funny.
And top of
Yes,
the
I took down
cheers,
a word.
love for. Great. Do you want to ask them the next word?
Yes, let me just get back to I have like two tabs open for okay, so now we need a singular noun. And so while we're waiting for that, the next question here. Um, so this might be maybe this will be a stressful question for you, but was wondering, who was the most stressful character that you've ever written and why?
Oh, stressful. Oh my gosh. Stressful. Okay, let's think about all of them. I suppose the main characters, or characters in general. Okay, even the side characters, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Most stressful character. Um, so I wouldn't say, I don't know if it's stressful. I suppose you could say stressful and a bit difficult or challenging to write this character. Um, but I think I'd mentioned it when we did the live stream for last live stream, the one who sees me's live stream, is I struggled to write Emmanuel's character. I It took me a while to figure out what his story was. So this is Emmanuel from The One Who Sees Me, book 3. So this one. And the reason I was stressed about his character was because I knew Heather, because I'd known Heather well from book 1. She featured a bit in
Mm-hmm.
book 2. I knew what I wanted her story to be like. When I got the idea for book 3, the first arc that came to me was Heather's arc. So I knew obviously there has to be a love interest. I knew that this love interest had to have a story, but I didn't know what that story was, and I didn't know what he was about, because obviously he just popped out of nowhere. I had to then figure out his background, his family dynamics with his sister, his dad, all of that stuff. So it really did take me a while to really pinpoint like what exactly it was. And I know that, Tiffany, because you beta read this book, I did really go back and sort of like strengthen his character a bit more after you guys beta read it, and just to give me a bit more, like, just to give more structure, because there were a few things about his character that just didn't click. So yeah, I think that was probably the most challenging or stressful character, I would say. Yeah.
Well, at least, it all came out right in the end. Yeah, that's my boy though.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now this will be fun. So who is the most delightful character that you've ever written and why?
Oh,
I
Raymond.
choose one of these words here.
Raymond.
Um,
Yeah.
oh, Raymond, of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
definitely. I enjoyed writing every bit of his character. He was just so delightful to write. I don't know why. Like I said, he came to me so easily. That book, The One Who Loves Me, I drafted it in 3 months. That's the fastest I've ever drafted a book, ever. That's to tell
Oh
you
my
how easy that story came to me. Like, I remember starting it November 2020. I started it for like NaNoWriMo or whatever, like the challenge. And then
God.
by November, December, January, sometime end of January, early February, I'd finished it. Like, it just came to me so easy. And I feel like Raymond was just he was just such a delight to write. He was funny. He's funny. I love his playful side. I love the how he just oozed, just gave us like the Nigerian side of thing. And again, I don't
Mhm.
know whether it's because he was inspired by my husband, whether that's why I enjoyed writing him so much. Maybe, maybe not. But I just really had a blast like writing that story. Yeah.
I see there's some love in the chat. Uh, Emmanuel gave us Alana, and
Yeah.
then the doctor who danced.
I was like, honestly, like and Toku said, I love Raven. He's just so funny and real. See, the readers agree. So
They 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 know what they're talking about.
yeah.
Okay, so you guys, we just need three more things, and then we'll see how this blurb comes out. So the next one is we need a plural noun.
Plural noun. You guys are doing well,
Yeah.
by the way. You're doing so well. So
Yes.
many suggestions. We weren't sure like whether you guys would engage with it, but you guys are helping us so well with this game. So thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so now this one will probably be, well, I would think it's going to be a hard question, but maybe not. Who, like, do you identify with one character in particular? Which character is most like you, and which one is the least like you?
Which character is most like me? So there are two characters that I would say that I could draw a little bit like some attributes of myself from. The first character is Amara. So Amara
Yes.
is so basically, if you remember her story, she was very shy and she was bullied as alongside Tiana when they were in high school, and so that affected her confidence a lot. Like when she went on to college and stuff like that, and she doubted her abilities a lot. And obviously Raymond was like the complete opposite. It was such an extrovert and like so confident in what he does, and he really tried to encourage her to get out of her shell and to be confident in who she was as God's child. So I feel like I am an introvert. I'm still an introvert, but I feel like with time, my confidence in doing things has increased a lot as I've become older. But I wasn't always like this. When I was younger, when I was a teen and things like that, I really, really, really used to struggle a lot with just being confident to whether it's to speak to people or is to we could term it as being shy or whatever, but like it got to a point where it really affecting the way I would relate with other people, just because of the way I was like very reserved, very quiet, and not wanting to go for things because I felt like, oh, I'm not going to be able to get it because I'm not good, that kind of sort of
Mhm.
mentality about things. And I feel like Amara struggled with that a little bit, so that's something I could relate with. So that's what made it easy to write her character, because I could relate to her. And then the other character that has a little bit of what I used to struggle with is actually Emmanuel. And I didn't realize this until I'd written his whole story. I'd written the whole book, and you guys had read it for
I
the
remember that.
and then I actually then went back and implemented. And then I went back and I was like, oh, there's actually a little bit of the story that I could relate with. And that's his people pleasing tendency. So the fact that he really had to break out of that and really stand up for what the calling that God had called him to do, and stand up for, his calling, basically stand up to his dad and stuff like that. And I feel like I'm sure we're all different, but from a lot of people who were from like a African background, where like the parents always right as you're growing up and things like that. Specifically with me being a sort of like reserved child, very shy and stuff like that, I kind of was always in a position where I felt like I just had to do stuff, to so that they wouldn't my parents would be angry with me, stuff like that. My parents are great. Like they, lovely parents. I'm so grateful for them. But I got to a point in my life where I just had to, you know, say, okay, but yes, I see where you're coming from, but I would rather do it my way or do it this way. So
Mhm.
oh gosh, are we frozen?
Yeah, it did freeze for a second, but I could hear you.
Okay, but I'm still frozen, am I?
Yeah, it is still frozen somehow.
Okay, okay. Let me have a look. Okay, so this is what I was telling you about. I may have to end it and then come back on. Um,
Okay.
but do you have everything from the chat? Have you written what you've got? Do you
Uh,
have from
we just need two more things, and then I'll put something together.
Okay, all right. Let me just 1 second. So oh, okay. I think we're I think we're kind of back, but you can't see me.
Mm-hmm.
My screen is black. Okay, just give me 1 second.
Okay. In the meantime, guys, I need uh an ing verb, so like an action verb.
I'm just trying to see if I can get my my picture back on display so I don't have to end the live stream. If not, we may just need to continue like this. But
Okay.
but yeah, just carry on.
Oh, I think we lost her
No,
for
I'm
a
here.
second.
I'm still here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
messing around with the settings. Let's
You
have a
guys
quick.
are giving some good suggestions here.
Okay, actually,
Okay, and
just continue. You're not gonna see me, but I'm gonna keep messing about just to see if I can get my picture back. But let's just carry on.
okay. So the last word that we need is a regular verb. So we're just, a verb. And for you, Joni, let's see, the next question here. Um, what's the most surprising thing that you learned while writing your books? This series in particular.
The most surprising thing. Most surprising. Oh gosh. Okay, now this is a difficult question. um, sorry guys. I know you guys can't see me, but like, I'd rather let's just if we can work with it, that's fine because I don't want to end the live stream and restart it again. Um, the most surprising thing. I think building up from what I mentioned before about how sometimes you can really, really write a character and then realize just how God is using their story to speak to you, or relate to what you're going through. So going back to what happened with Emmanuel, where I said that, oh, I actually didn't realize how God was using the way that he is overcoming his people pleasing tendencies and standing up for what he believed in to really speak to me. So I was, I guess, surprised just how much God can use these stories and these characters to actually minister to you, the author, as well. So not just the readers. So yeah, I think that's probably what surprised me.
Oh, I think maybe it's, well, we see the little circle icon, but I think that's some progress.
That's a progress.
Okay, so I got the last word, so I'm gonna ask you a question and be working on rewording some things.
Okay.
Let's see here. Oh, this one I think would be nice to hear what your answer would be. What is your deepest joy about writing in general?
My deepest joy about writing, to be honest, I think it's just, just seeing how God just uses these stories and these words just to speak to the readers and the people who read the book. um I always get so emotional when I read some reviews where people would say things like, oh, this story really helped me grow closer to God, or this story made me pick up my Bible to read it more, or this story was like an answered prayer to something that I was going through in my life, or this story really helped me to go through a difficult situation. Literally, like in the one with the one who loves me, there's one review on Goodreads from this lady. I think this was like a year ago or so, where she said that she was in a very similar situation to what Amara was in terms of like trying to pick between two people, and the story actually helped her to sort of like make a decision. I was like, oh my gosh, like that's so deep, like to actually be inspired by a story, thinking about who you're going to spend the rest of your life with or who you're going to marry. That's just so mind-blowing. I just love the fact that God is just doing his thing. At the end of the day, it's not me. I'm only the person writing the books, but the impact that it does in the lives of readers, God takes all the glory for that. So that's what brings me joy, and that's what keeps me pushing through when things are hard and when things are challenging as a writer. That's the main thing really that keeps me going.
I love that. Um, Now I'm having to like, I didn't realize how this game would challenge me on like knowing my English. Like, what verb should be replaced with this?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
um
so
or
now
we could give
but
you sort of we could give you the rest of the stream, sort of like work on the blurb, but then we could actually move on to the next game, and then you could literally just like work on that, so to give you a bit of time, and then you can read the blurb
okay,
to us at the end.
perfect. Yes, that sounds perfect. So the next game, guys, is the book blurb game. So for this one, I'm going to show you guys a book. I'm not sure if any of you read it, but it's a good thing if you haven't read it, because the purpose of this game is that I'm going to read you the actual blurb, and then you guys are going to come up with what you think the first sentence should be in this book, and you'll put it in the chat. And then after you've submitted your answers, me and Joni will decide like which one is our favorite, and whichever one is our favorite, they're gonna actually win something, a giveaway. So I hope that makes sense. So the title is called The Bookish Bandit. I'll let you guys look at this cute little cover here. Got fall vibes, and it actually matches my shirt. Or okay, so the blurb. Steal my heart, not my pages. Aspiring author Charlie Blair never expected to stumble across her own novel at her favorite bookstore. Except this novel isn't hers. Published under someone else's name, the book she wrote to cope with the loss of her missionary parents is already topping the charts. Irate, confused, and determined to regain the rights to her book, Charlie leaves her idyllic life in the countryside of Vermont to set things straight in the Big Apple. When she crashes into a charming stranger who offers to help, her faith in humanity and God's handiwork is restored. But when secrets unravel and the final pages have been turned, what's too good to be true may turn a blossoming love story into a star-crossed tragedy. Andrew Kettner has it all: charm, good looks, a sizable inheritance, and an almost guaranteed future at the helm of one of New York City's most prestigious publishing houses. While life looks perfect on the outside, living in the shadow of an overbearing father, while reeling from the faith-crushing weight of personal loss, has left him feeling like he's hardly living at all. When he stumbles across a discarded manuscript he is convinced will be an instant success, it sparks an ember of hope he thought was long extinguished. The world looks brighter until he finds himself thrown into an impossible situation. Will he protect his family's legacy, or end up falling in love with the woman whose novel they've unwittingly plagiarized? So that is the blurb. And now the timer's, there is no timer, but it starts now. You guys, what do you think the first sentence should be?
Am I allowed to try as well?
Yes, you could try, Joni. You just won't win the giveaway because you're hosting the giveaway. But sure.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out if I can get the camera to work. But yeah, we'll think about what the first sentence will be, and then I would really want to want to give it a go as well.
Yes, that sounds wonderful. And then I'll be here working on the Matlib blurb for your book.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay, so we have one suggestion. Oh, okay. As a solo player in a world of video games, Amy Ray is dot dot dot. Okay, so we've got a contender. All right. we'll wait for a few more, and then we'll see where we can we'll see what the best possible one is. Thank you so much, Anjali, for your suggestion. Because we could I don't know how many more questions do we have, Tiffany?
Let me see. I know we were getting to the end, so we got one, two, three, four, five. We got five, and I think we got enough time because I mean I'm really not in a rush.
Okay,
Um, yeah, so no worries on that.
no worries.
So let's see. Let me give you, let's see. Okay, so where do you draw your inspiration, and what do you do when the inspiration well runs dry?
Where do I draw my inspiration? So I would say that some of my so I think I've had inspiration from really different places. The first book, so The One Who Knows Me, that was inspired by actually something that happened in my life. So again, it's not my story. Like I've never written about myself, but I did mention before that with Tiana and Jaden, I have all the whole sort of dealing with doubts and struggling to see God when things go wrong, and all of that. That was inspired by something that happened in my life. With The One Who Loves Me, that was actually inspired by another book that I read that I thought, okay, I would like to rewrite this, but from like a Christian perspective. So I get some inspiration from reading other books as well. Other books. I think, oh, maybe I could do this, write a similar story, but take it in a different direction. I also get inspiration from I think some songs as well. Some Christian songs have also given me some sort of inspiration from posting in Facebook groups and asking for advice. And from shows as well, from whether it's movies or shows like Paternity Court and stuff like that. I do get some inspiration from that. But yeah, or maybe something that has happened to somebody else. Maybe I heard a story that happened to somebody else, and then I would be like, oh, that would make a really good story. Yeah, it's just it could be anything really, just lots of different places.
Yes, so Angeli is correct that you're just writing what you think would be the first opening sentence based on what you heard when I read the blurb on the back of the book. So yes, like she said, it can be anything. It doesn't have to be super great. Like even if it's just like, I don't know, hilarious or like it's, just you can give your best shot. There's no judgment here. Um,
And
let's
then
see. So let me
we
swing
have an
back.
entry from Iano. She said, "Nothing describes a feeling you get when your book is a bestseller, and nothing can describe what you feel when your book is a bestseller without you publishing it."
Ooh,
So we've got that as
that's a
well.
nice one. Okay, so here, so as someone who has a day job, I know you're like a physician. I always say that wrong. You're an assistant, right?
Associate. So we say physician associate.
Associate.
Yeah,
Okay, my bad. So, like, I was wondering, like, you wear so many hats. Like, aside from writing and
yeah,
your day job, like, you also have like a merch store where
yeah,
with the, like all these cute things. So, I
yeah.
was wondering, how do you find time to write?
So to be honest, if I'm being honest, like use trying to find time to write with a day job is difficult. So it's hard. It's just trying to be sort of intentional about scheduling, whether you have to have some sort of schedule and some seeing the different parts in your week or your day where you have some time where you could write something, even if it's just one word or one paragraph or something. So I really try
Mhm.
to sort of mainly it's in the evening, so after I come back from work, and just to see if there's anything that I could have some downtime, and if I could really just sit down and whilst we're watching TV, because I tend to what's it called? I tend to multitask, so I could. Oh, okay. I'm
Oh, you're back.
My husband helped me. He just swooped in like the superhero that he is. And he
Well
has,
done.
thank you. So he actually had to put in like an external camera. So, because I don't know what's going on with the camera on my laptop. But yeah, so I'm back. So I
Yes.
was saying that I really do try to figure out if there's different parts of the day, where I can have some time to sit down and write something. I try not to pressure myself too much. Like my job is people facing. Like I talk and talk and talk from like 9 a.m. to when I leave at 5 or 6. And it can be really draining for an introvert that I am. Like I get really drained with like a people facing job. So when I do get home, I think it depends on whether I'm in that mental sort of like space to really sit down and stare at a screen again, because I stare at screens all day. Like with my job, I'm like looking at the screens, typing,
Oh,
typing,
yeah.
typing. And then if I get home, I'm just like, oh, do I really, really want to open my laptop and stare at the screen and think? Because with writing, even though, yeah, you write creatively, but you still have
Mhm.
make sense. You still have to, things need to make sense. So I really just assess it on a day-to-day basis. The main thing is after work, like when I get home, if I feel like I have some sort of energy, I would open my laptop, open the story, see if I can write, even if it's just one paragraph. Sometimes I can write a whole paragraph, sometimes I can write a whole chapter. And then obviously on my days off, so I don't work every single day. I work Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So on Wednesdays, I have some downtime. So I will try to make sure that on those days off and the weekends, I try to write something, because I know it's going to be difficult during the week when I'm working. So on Wednesdays when I'm off, I try to make sure that I write something. And then it might mean this, I go well into the night. So for example, Tuesday evening when I know I'm not working the next day on Wednesday, even if it means coming back after work, writing until like midnight or 1 a.m., I could just literally try and put something down before going to sleep. And then on weekends as well, Saturdays mainly, if it's not too busy, if I'm not going to any event or visiting anybody, I could write. Um, my husband drives us around a lot because I don't enjoy driving, so I'm literally on the passenger side. So when we're traveling, like going on road trips and stuff like that, I always take my laptop. So whilst he's driving, I try to get in some words. What else? What else? I'm just trying to think. Yeah, I think it just takes a lot of intentionality. It's very difficult. It's very hard. And obviously you wish that this was the only thing you did. Like sometimes I wish this was the only thing I did, and then I have like just wake up in the morning and all I do is just write, and then I can finish, at a respected. That would be the dream. But unfortunately,
Mhm.
that can't. So yeah, I think it's just being intentional about um making use of the time that you have, the extra time that you have, setting a some sort of deadline, but not forcing yourself if you know that you absolutely cannot do it. I try not to force myself. If I feel like I can't write, I just close my laptop and I don't write. I don't write every single day. There's some authors that say, "Oh no, you have to write every single day." Da, da, da. It doesn't work for me. I just can't. It's not possible for me to write every single day.
Mhm.
So yeah. So I think we have a
Agree.
few. We do have a few.
Yes.
So had Iyana's one, and then Bella's one says, I walk into the bookstore in search of a cure to my book slump, and I find my book in the top 5 bestsellers, except my name is not on it. Oh, okay, okay. I like
Okay.
that.
You guys are making this hard.
Yeah. And then Bettina says, when Amber Ray's world is turned upside down, she doesn't realize what adventure awaits her. Ready, set, go. All right. Okay. Very intriguing. What has turned her world upside down. Da, 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 da. That's so good. You guys are actually really like giving this a good go. So that's good. I thank you guys for participating. I haven't thought about my own yet because I was trying to fix the camera.
Oh,
Maybe,
yeah, yeah. We'll give
maybe
you
I'm,
some more time, Joni.
yeah.
So are we gonna leave this for the very end, or because I mean I think I got it to, it's probably not as funny, but maybe it will be funny to you guys. I'm not sure, but I think
Okay.
I got the blurb together,
Okay.
the Matt
Okay.
Lib.
Oh gosh, my thing is gone off again. No
Oh,
worries. Don't worry. I'll fix it. Um, so I mean, if you have it, then you could read it now, or it's up to you, really. Or maybe we could take some more questions and then you can read it at the end.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, so let's see. What important advice would you give a first-time author? So, like, it's an author that is on the other side of publishing, like they first published their book or
Yeah,
got published.
yeah. So to be honest, I think that um being an author, there's so many layers to it. There's so many things that you need to consider, um that you wouldn't be able to see that unless you actually experience it for yourself. It's very easy to be on one side looking at the successes of some authors and actually like comparing yourself to them, comparing yourself to their journeys when you're just starting out. So I think one thing that I would want to encourage a lot of authors is that I think it's important that we don't compare. And I know it's easier said than done, but it's a learning curve. It's a steep learning curve, especially if you're going to decide to do this independently. So if you're gonna decide to be like an indie author, there's a lot of layers that come to that. Like when you're an indie author, you're the publisher, you're the marketer, you're the one who's supposed to sort out like the cover design and lots of other things. There's just so many layers to it, and it's a lot of work. Like people who say that indie being an indie author is like the easy way out, they don't know what they're saying. They literally do not know
No
what.
idea.
It's not an easy way out. There's a lot of layers that come with it, and it's very important that we don't compare our journeys to other authors' journeys. Yes, we might be going through the same thing, but our experiences will be very different in terms of um depending on what genre you're writing, or the kind of beta readers and feedback that you get, and the kind of audience that you interact with is going to be very different. So it's important that we don't compare ourselves. And I think there's a you need to be resilient, I would say, as an author. And I think you need to know really what your why is. Remember, I was saying before when you asked me about what joy I have
Mhm.
comes from with writing. You need to know what that is for you, because when things get hard, when things get really
Yes.
difficult, it would be important for you to ask yourself that question, like, why am I actually doing this? Why do I want to keep on writing? Because I do feel like if you get to that point where you don't know what your source is, you don't know what your actual reason for doing this is, when those challenges come, it might be really easy for you to give up. It might be really easy for you to be like, I can't do this anymore. This is too hard. So, well, it's hard. It's hard, period. But I think it will be really good for you as the author to really ask yourself, what is that thing for me that that is my anchor, really? And I feel like as Christian authors, it doesn't matter what genre you write. I think that what should bind us, bring us all together is the fact that we do want to glorify God, and that we want to see Him, impact the world. We want to tell the world about His love. We want to tell the world about Jesus Christ, and spread the gospel and things like that. So that is our ultimate goal. We're just doing that through writing and telling stories, same way Jesus told parables to his disciples to spread a message. He was very creative with stories. So that's the same thing that we're doing, trying to write these stories or parables, and that's it, to try and relay a message. So I think it's really important to know what your why is, and to have an anchor. And I would also say the last thing is to have community. Being an author can really be very lonely. Oh, I suppose it could be a very yeah, I would say yeah, it can be a very lonely professional career.
Mhm.
It's important to have people around you who you can, even if it's just somebody that you can just ask questions, if something, if you don't understand a certain thing. So, oh, I uploaded my book onto KDP or whatever, and this popped up. Have you ever experienced this before? What would you advise that I do? So yeah, it's just important to have that sort of community, even if it's just one person that you relate with, that you're in contact with, because you guys can literally help each other on your journey. You can find critique partners you can exchange your work, and you guys help each other, as Tiffany has been so helpful to me over the years. And I'm hoping that one day I'll finish beta reading her book. I actually started beta reading her book, guys, her Christian fantasy book, but stuff happened and we couldn't finish it. But it's just showing you that when you build this relationship, you guys can really help each other and build each other up, and just encourage each other along that journey. Because when you do get to that point where you're just like, I cannot do this anymore, it's good to have that community of people who will pour into you and encourage you. So yeah, I think those are the things I would really say. Don't compare yourself. It's good to be resilient. Know like what your why is, and the source of your strength, and the anchor for what you're doing, and also community as well. Yeah.
I would say that's a solid answer. Thank you. I actually took notes, so thank you. I
Okay.
see that we have our final contenders.
Yes, we've got a few. Let's see. So Tokpe has written, she says, I've totally lost it, I think, as I stare at the words on the book, laughing hysterically. Do I have dementia? Because when did I publish my book? Oh, this is good.
Oh,
This is
no.
good. I love that. I love that. And then Angeli says, as a solo, oh, she had written something before, but then she's expanded on it. As a solo player in
Mhm.
a world of video games, Amy Ray is a force to be reckoned with. Fiercely independent and armed with unmatched skills, she thrives in challenges where others rely on teams. Okay. But when a mysterious new game threatens to blur the line between virtual and real, Amy must decide if she can remain a lone wolf or if it's time to trust others to survive. All right. Um, let's have a look. Let's have a look. Okay, let's see if there's anyone else. Bella is laughing at the dementia. um, Antonio, is she just getting started? Okay, that's another entry from Angeli. But we have quite a few here. If anybody else wants to give this game a go, that would be good. I'm just trying to look because we'll have to pick a winner.
Yeah, and you guys are making it hard.
Making it hard. Tiffany's gonna find it hard to pick a winner.
Wait, whoa, I thought we were supposed to pick the winner.
Let's have a look.
Oh,
Okay. Oh gosh, these are really good. I like these first sentences.
mhm.
I love these first sentences. Okay. We'll probably just give a few more minutes to see if anybody has anything. And then answer some more questions.
Yes, we have two last ones. So one of them is, what do you want readers to take away from your books? And
Yes.
then, yes, well, yes, that one first.
So what do I want readers to take away from the book? So basically, again, like I was saying before when I introduced myself about the fact that these books that I write are the aim of them is to share God's love, really, and to shine the light and love of Christ in our broken world. The world is broken, and I know I don't need to spell that out for anybody, because we live it through it every day. We come across people every day and see just how dark things are, but we do know that we are the light of the world, and a city that's built on a hill cannot be hidden, so we need to shine. And so basically these books follow Christian characters who are human, who have their own flaws, but they're also relying on God every single day to help them. Obviously, you would see that these are real people that have flaws, and well, real-ish people. They're real to me, who go through all these different challenges. They learn their lessons, they make mistakes like everybody else, and at the end they rely on God and draw from him And all these stories really do point to how good God is. And the way Tiffany was talking, at the very first question she asked me about the titles of the book, like it was intentional about the fact that you would say the one who knows me, the one who loves me, the one who sees me, the one who holds me. You would think, okay, maybe it's actually about the couple. Suppose you could be about the couple as well, but really it's about God and it's about the characters relationship with God. And until you read the book, you would know, oh, actually the title is, is referring to God. And that was intentional because it's a sovereign love series and it's a sovereign love of God. So yeah, I just hope that if you guys do give it a try, or if you've read it, that you would see be pointed and be reminded about the light of God, the love of God, and the goodness of God as well. Yeah.
Love that. Let's see here. What is the game? Sorry, I was a bit late. Okay. Well, I would have to read the blurb again. So, Joni, what do you say?
So you can read the blurb again, for if Joanna wants to. Oh, thank you, by the way, Johanna, for joining. Yeah, you can read the blurb again for her. Then we can do the last few questions. Or last question.
Okay. So, this is the book and the game. Well, the book's called The Bookish Bandit. And the game is that I'm going to read the blurb that's on the back of the book, and then you write what you think the first sentence should be. And then me and Joni are going to decide like which one did we like the best, and whichever sentence is picked, that person will win a giveaway. So, um here goes. Steal my heart, not my pages. Aspiring author Charlie Blair never expected to stumble across her own novel at her favorite bookstore. Except this novel isn't hers. Published under someone else's name, the book she wrote to cope with the loss of her missionary parents is already topping the charts. Irate, confused, and determined to regain the rights to her book, Charlie leaves her idyllic life in the countryside of Vermont to set things straight in the Big Apple. When she crashes into a charming stranger who offers to help, her faith in humanity and God's handiwork is restored. But when secrets unravel and the final pages have been turned, what's too good to be true may turn a blossoming love story into a star-crossed tragedy. Andrew Kettner has it all: charm, good looks, a sizable inheritance, and an almost guaranteed future at the helm of one of New York City's most prestigious publishing houses. While life looks perfect from the outside, living in the shadow of an overbearing father while reeling from the faith crushing weight of personal loss has left him feeling like he's hardly living at all. When he stumbles across a discarded manuscript he is convinced will be an instant success, it sparks an ember of hope he thought was long extinguished. The world looks brighter until he finds himself thrown into an impossible situation. Will he protect his family's legacy or end up falling in love with the woman whose novel Dave unwittingly plagiarized? And so that is the blurb. And do with that what you will.
Mhm. Yeah,
I
so you
guess that
can.
gives you a chance, Joni, to throw your hat.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm still trying to think. But
Yes,
yeah, Joanna, you can give it a go and trying to write what the first sentence would be for this novel, and then Tiffany will actually read the first sentence for us. At some
yes, yes. I forgot to mention that. Yes, so I'll read the original first sentence after we choose the
point.
winner, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So yeah, we can
perfect.
answer the last question.
Yes, so how can we be praying for your writing journey?
Yeah, I suppose really it's just praying for just more inspiration really, and just praying that we continue to write what God wants, and what he the stories that he wants, because at the end of the day these stories that we write aren't our stories. Like I always say that these books, these are God's stories that he has put he has inspired me to write. And so really the main thing is just praying that we don't get lost in that journey, that we continue to rely, or I continue to rely on God and to be inspired by God to write exactly what he wants, because he's the one who's going to make the impact. He's going to use that story for his glory. So I need to write what he wants, so that whoever that message is meant for will grasp the message and be blessed. And for me, like I was saying, when I experienced the joy of being a writer, is seeing that readers are blessed through these stories. So that's what brings me joy, and that's what makes this rewarding. So again, it's just praying that it's less of me, less and less of me, more and more of God, so that he will be glorified. So yeah.
I love that. Yes, I'll be praying for that for you as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Um,
So
okay,
now
let's
everyone wants to throw in some more entries.
right. Yanis asking a question, but how exactly do you unwittingly plagiarize an entire novel? Maybe Tiffany, have you read the book? Have you read that book? Oh, you
No, but
haven't read it.
I
Okay.
I did read the second one, and the second one is so good. It actually released today, so uh,
I
it's
saw that. Yeah,
blind a blind date.
I read it with a book
Book.
nerd. Yeah, I
It is
saw.
so good.
Yeah,
So no,
that.
I haven't read this one, so I feel like I'm able to be not I'm able to be objective in helping to judge this contest. So that is a good question, and I hope that they make it make sense when you actually read the book. How did his company do that?
I think maybe this guy, maybe they stole the manuscript of some way of some sort, and then didn't know who the original author was or something.
Because it
No?
says that he stumbled across a discarded manuscript.
Yeah,
So I wonder,
there
he
you
thought no one's gonna do anything with this.
go.
I
He
don't
just
know.
published it. That is, I don't know. That's wrong on so many levels.
Wrong.
Well, I suppose like if they had thrown it away, then that meant that they didn't want it anymore. So he decided to do what it was with it. Anyway. But yeah.
Okay, so let's see these last entries here. And then
Okay, so Eli stood frozen in the crowded bookstore, her fingers tracing the familiar lines of prose on the pages. It was unmistakably hers. The characters, the plot twist, every carefully crafted word. That's good. Yeah, it says, but the name on the cover was a stranger's. A wave of disbelief washed over her, followed swiftly by anger. How could someone steal her story and take the credit? Oh, okay. I love that. I love that. We did lessons. If there's no one to object to this union, I declare the couple and husband.
what? That's
Is that a
interesting.
continuation? Blessing, is that a continuation from a previous sentence? Please come and explain.
Yes, exactly. Oh,
Um,
Emma says hi.
Oh, hi, Emma. She says popping into book like the button. Thank you so much, Emma. Emma is actually she's also an author. She's based in the UK as well. She also writes romance, not Christian romance, but she has a YouTube channel as well. I don't know if you guys have actually seen her on AuthorTube, but she's a hybrid author. So she has some traditionally published books, but and also some self-published books as well. So if you don't know Emma, actually check out her YouTube channel. And if you want just another British author as well, I love her videos. They're quite nice. Thank you, Emma, for popping in. I really appreciate it. Angela, you have me so eager to read. I know, right? Blessing says I was trying to write something. I don't know what she was trying to write. Emma says, thanks for the shout out. So sweet. You're welcome. Thank you so much. They're about to get married and someone objects, revealing the book was plagiarized when my keyboard is incorporating. Okay.
Oh no.
It says the story itself sounds very interesting. Yeah, it sounds like it. That book is actually on my TBR, but the TBR
Oh,
is over like
yes,
100
climbing.
300 books. Like, you just have to find the time to read it. So hopefully we can all go and read this book. And I think it was written by two authors, wasn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah, so
Erica DeSoro and Brett Howard.
yeah, Yeah, so I will we could go and all check out that book. Okay, so I
So
think we made
Johanna has her entry. I think we did we read that one yet?
let me see. Oh, I didn't. Oh, I skipped over this. Sorry, Joanna. It was raining outside when I saw it. I should have known it was a sign that this day wouldn't get better for me, but nothing could have prepared me for what I saw in the bookstore. Ooh, you guys are making this so difficult because you guys are so good at this game. I am so confused now. Uh,
Yes. In the beginning, I was like, I'm sure I know who I'm going to choose, but now I don't know.
yeah. Um, to be honest, Topper's one, this one really made me laugh out loud. I really do. This one is quite good. Give me 1 second. Let me try to get my camera to work again. Let me see. Let's do that and then start cam. I think I figured it out now. So
Okay, good.
yeah. So Topper's one actually made me like that was quite
Hilarious.
one. And oh, Anjali's asking for the author names. Maybe do you want to type it in the in the chat?
Oh, so I didn't sign in with my YouTube. Uh,
Oh,
so it says, yeah, so I'm not able to.
fine, that's fine. Let me type it. Let me type it. I'll search it up. Don't know why my camera keeps going off again. Let me just put that back on. Um, okay, so okay, keeps going off, even though I'm trying to put it back on. So
No.
what was the title again? Remind me, Tiffany.
The Bookish Bandit.
The Bookish Bandit. Okay. It's Britt Howard, and so I'll write it on there. So Britt Howard and Erica. How do you pronounce her surname? Dancero.
Yeah, I think
um,
it's actually like that.
so Dancero. Let me just spell it right. Dancero. Where is it? Yeah, I think this is it. So I've written it in the chat. So Britt Howard and Erica Dancero. Let me just change this. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure that my camera stays on. Hopefully it doesn't
Yes.
again. Okay, good. Good. All right. Thank you. Oh gosh, this is why I don't like using StreamYard, but hopefully we'll get to the end. Yes,
We're
Bettina,
almost there.
we're almost there. We're almost there. They released a second book to Bookish Bandit series today. Yes, that's right. I think it's Blind Date with a Book Nerd. I think we mentioned earlier. So if you guys don't know this author, you can check them out as well. I don't think it's explicitly Christian romance, but I think it's clean romance, isn't it? It's like clean and wholesome, I think. Or is it Christian?
Well, yes. Well, the first one, like I said, I haven't read it yet, but the second one is explicitly Christian, and it's actually a second chance romance too. So it was like the second. I was like, I'm reading two second chance romance books this month.
That's good.
So
Hey, see, look at that. So we just, find another book. Oh yeah, that's good to know that it's actually Christian romance. I thought it was just clean romance. Well, that's good. All right, we need to pick a winner.
yes.
uh,
So let's
Let me
see.
have a look. Okay. So I already said that I like Tokres one.
Tope.
I, at
Hmm.
least I have some sort of. I'm just trying to narrow it down, which is proving really difficult.
I liked
Yeah. Which one did you like, Tiffany?
I like Topes, and I also like Yuyon. I want to say her name right, but you know who I mean. Um, the author of Love's Beacon.
Oh, Iyanu.
Okay.
Iyanu is like
Yes, her.
um. Where is it? She was one of the first one. Yeah. So nothing describes the feeling you get when your book is a bestseller, and nothing can describe what you feel when your book is a bestseller without you publishing it. I like that one as well. And I think I also like I like Bella's one. I walk into business search for cure my book slum and my find my book in the top five bestseller, except my name is not on it. I actually like that one as well. Um, okay, okay. So I did say that, given that this is the only like one where we
Game.
have a winner, I suppose I could pick more than one winner. Because I was gonna give out, because I know a lot of people who are on here have read my books. Like, there's no point of like doing like a give away my book. So I was actually gonna do like an Amazon gift card. So if we narrow it down to two or three of you, then I suppose you guys would win that. So I did like Topper's one, which is
Yeah.
I love this one. I feel
Yeah.
like this is a really good opener. Like, it really grips you, and is quite, and it sets a tone for possibly like a romantic comedy or something like that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I really like this one. And then I like Bella's one as well. Where is it? Can't find it. I like Bella's one, and then Ianu's one as well. So that's good. So okay, so that's three of you. Yay! Well done, well done, well done. So basically you guys are the three winners today. Thank you guys so much for participating. And this, you guys did a really good job. Honestly, I wasn't sure how this was gonna go, but
Yeah.
you guys did a really good job, which is quite good. So Bella, Tokpe, and Ianu, you guys make sure that you reach out to me. You guys know how to reach out to me, because I owe you guys a prize. So thank you so much for doing that. So Tiffany, do you want to read the actual first sentence of that book?
Oh, yes. So let's see here. Okay. Oh, well, it's got a scripture in the beginning. So maybe this one is explicitly Christian too.
Okay,
It's
okay.
John 3:16. So that's a good one. All right. So the first sentence, it's in Andrew's point of view, and it says, Andrew, this isn't a story I can publish. The novel I've been working on for months lands on the desk with a thump that reverberates throughout the spacious corner office.
Okay, okay. To be honest, I
Right.
like Topper's first sentence better.
Yeah, what, Andrew, this isn't a story I can publish? Yeah. So I mean, it is like it's a line of dialogue. So it technically is the first
Yeah,
sentence. I just read the second one that's right after it
right,
to
right, right,
give
right.
context. But it
Yeah,
does make you think, is he a good writer? Maybe he wasn't a good writer and that's why
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's why he took the manuscript.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Because then because I think a lot of the people who entered we wrote it from the girl's point of view, but obviously now this is from Andrew's point of view, which will probably build up to like maybe he will get to like be frustrated because his publisher doesn't want to publish
Mhm.
anything. So now when he finds
Oh,
a
so
script, he
it's
now
duo.
yeah, it's a dual POV, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, that's
None
interesting.
of us were close. Yeah, well, you guys, some of your sentences was like so good too, though. Like
Yeah.
it really could have been the first sentence, and I would be flipping to find out what happens.
Nobody ever even tried to write from the guy's point of view. I think we're just all sort
Oh
of
yeah, yeah. We all
yeah,
felt bad for her.
yeah, we felt bad for, of course. Like, why would
Wait, but
now?
it's the same thing with Alex, though. Like
Yeah,
we all expected Alana, like the story, the whole thing would just follow her, but no, we get Alex's point of view too.
yeah, yeah, which is quite good. So yeah, no, thank you guys. None of us were close. Yeah, but I mean, actually, it would be interesting. I don't know. I was gonna say maybe like read from her point of view, but then first and then from her point of view. But I don't know whether it will be if it would still, if you can find the scene where she actually found the book in the bookstore. But it'll be too much work. But no, I think that was quite good. Thank you.
That
Um,
first sentence hurt. Yes.
it
Coming
did.
from a writer.
Definitely. I don't think I can publish this. That's dealing with rejections and stuff as a writer, it can really be hard. So I'm gonna go back to before Tiffany reads what she has for us. I don't know if you finished with the blurb with me
Yes, I
writing the
did.
blurb, but I'm gonna go back to answer. I think there were two questions here. Somebody asked about something about secular fantasy. I think, did you see that question, Tiffany?
Oh yeah, I did write that down because I thought that was an interesting question. Where is it? I wrote it down in
Maybe
one of these
read
notes.
fantasy that much. I don't know. I would love to know what your 2 cents are, given that you write fantasy. Where is it? I'm trying to
Uh,
find the question.
yeah, let me scroll up too because I thought I wrote it down somewhere because that's when I thought we might hop off and then get back on. So
Uh,
I don't
see.
lose it.
Oh, I said the beginning. I'm just gonna see if I can find. Oh yes, there it is. So, how do you feel about secular fantasy romance novel? As in, like reading them, Faith, or writing them? Because
Yes,
yeah, I
that's a
mean,
good question.
do you read secular fantasies, or do you read only sort of like Christian, or some sort of, I don't know. I think with the fantasy genre, I I've read. So I read Children of Blood and Bone, which I suppose is a like fantasy. Just
Hmm.
because I just love the fact that I love like the representation in there, the culture, stuff like that. And it was an enjoyable read and stuff. It wasn't like there weren't like any explicit, although there was a romantic sort of like subplot, but there was nothing explicit in it. So and it was very gripping story filled with action. It was very long. It's a very long book.
Yeah, I do remember that too. Yeah.
But the cover is very beautiful, and I actually do have a paperback. Like this, I'd never buy like hard copies, but I actually do have a paperback of that novel just because of how beautiful the cover was. But then I know that the subsequent books in that series like take another turn that with some themes that are not in keeping with the Christian like our Christian values. So that's not a series that I'm ever gonna be continuing with, no matter how good the writing was and the action filled, because I just don't believe personally that as Christians we should be reading books that are not in line with our values and our faith and things like that. Because I'm all about feeding your spirit, and you know, it's important what we let into our heart, what we see, what we hear, what we read, what we talk about. So I didn't continue with that series, but that's the only, and then your book now, Tiffany, but that's the only
Yes.
experience I have with fantasy, which is why I'm throwing the question back at you. Since you read a lot of
So
fantasy.
I do have thoughts on that. So when it comes to reading it, I like I said earlier, if you guys were here with me earlier when I was saying that I was thankful to Joni because she introduced me to modern Christian fiction. Because back then I just knew like Narnia and Lord of the Rings. So when she reached out to me, I just found like this whole other side of Bookstagram where there's like Christian fiction books, not just contemporary, but fantasy. So but I used to like heavily read secular fantasy books, but I would always come back and be like, oh, I had to stomach so much language or explicit scenes, having to skip scenes just to get to the plot.
Mhm.
So nowadays, if I do read a secular fantasy book, it's because a lot of the reviews have said that it was particularly clean, which for me means there's no spice and there's no language, and then it's not gory either. So yes, I will read secular fantasy books if there's a reviews that say that it's clean, and mostly for the pros because I like to study. Like if I have a chance to sit down and read a book, I will study a book for the reason, like if they say it's lyrical writing, I want to write like that, so I will pick up a general market book for that purpose.
Yeah.
But if I hear that it just has like too much spice and language, then I'd rather spend my time reading a Christian fantasy book or one of Joni's books here
Yeah.
than, have to stomach. something, content that doesn't agree with my
Yeah.
spirit.
Yeah, and I think that's important. I think not just in fantasy though, because obviously when you say secular fantasy, I do know that there are a lot of authors who write books, Christian authors who write books that are not explicitly Christian fiction, but their underlying themes have some sort of Christian. The characters have like Christian values and things like that. So it may not explicitly be in the umbrella of Christian fiction, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't learn from it, or you can have like themes there that you can talk about. And I know there are a lot of Christian like authors who are Christian who don't write Christian fiction, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they would write spy, so they would write other things that do not glorify God. So I think it just really depends on like where you are. I know Bethany Atazada, who is a author tuber here. She's on author tube. She is Christian. She writes fantasy. It's not Christian fantasy, but it's also not. I mean, I haven't read any of her books, but I do know that they do have romance or plots and stuff, but like it's clean. And then there's also the other author tuber, what's her name? What's her name? The one that did the serials. She's
Oh, Brittany Wang.
Brittany Wang. Yes, I think she's also Christian as
Yes,
well.
she is.
But obviously her the serial, obviously, which I have not read, but they sound awesome and great. I do know that they're fantasy. They're not Christian fantasy, but they're also clean as well, as from the reviews that I've read. So you don't have to necessarily write Christian fiction specifically, doesn't always have to mention God, Jesus, the Bible. But I think overall, it's like, what message are you trying to push on? What theme are you trying to pass on to the reader? There's ways that you can work those Christian values and Christian themes into your stories without explicitly mentioning God, Jesus, and the Bible. I personally just choose and I want to explicitly mention God, Jesus, and the Bible. And that's the path that I've chosen, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to, like go that path. I think, yeah, that's my 2 cents. I just feel like because I don't read the genre that much, like I don't really have much to
Yes,
say.
no, I think you said it right. And so I'm working on what I would say is a explicit Christian YA fantasy book, and there will be a romantic subplot, but it's a slow burn romance, so you might not see that in the first book. But
Yeah.
um Faith, if you need any book recommendations, you can uh I don't know if you have Goodreads, but I have like a whole bunch of books that's yes, Candace Yamnitz. Yes,
Yeah.
I love her books.
Yes. I follow her. She's done an awesome job with her books as well, and I love the fact that she's shining her Latin, culture and stuff.
Mhm.
Love it. We love to see all of this
Yes,
diversity.
exactly. But yeah, I was just saying if you want to find more Christian fantasy books, or even if it's Christian allegory books, if you're looking for recommendations, you could one probably follow Candace Yamnitz because she has a newsletter list with like clean YA teen
Yeah.
recommendations, and then friend me on Goodreads because I hang out there
Yeah.
quite a lot and have like almost 1,000 books on
Wow.
there.
Okay. Yes, follow Tiffany and Goodreads as well. I will, at the end of the live stream, I'll pop her Goodreads link as well as her Instagram page in the description. Um, but I think you are author Tiffany Goldman on Instagram, are you? Is that right? Yeah. And on
Yes.
Goodreads as well? Or is it slightly different? Is just Tiffany Goldman on Goodreads, or
Oh, that's a good point. Let me check.
well, I mean, I follow you on Goodreads, so I can easily find your link. So
Oh,
that's
yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Okay, that's a
I'll
good
pop
point.
I'll pop it in the description.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know if that answers your question, Faith, but obviously, if you can reach out to us, either myself or Tiffany later, if you want more, like she said, more inspiration, more books and stuff like that. That'll be helpful. It'll be interesting to know whether you are a writer of fantasy, because I don't know whether you are asking that question from a reading perspective or writing perspective. So do tell us if you do write fantasy and whether it's more like secular fantasy or like explicitly Christian fantasy. Um, let's see if there's anything else because there's a question I would like to ask. Oh yes, Velicity Elaine, I follow on TikTok. She writes Christian fantasy and dystopian, and I haven't read
Oh,
any of her books, but I have seen a lot of her books as well on TikTok. And yes, of course, Nadine Brandes, of course, I follow her, although I haven't read any of her books, but she's Christian as well. So yeah, it would be good to check out all of these people. So the okay, do you want to read the blurb that you have restructured, and then
yeah.
so I'll go back and answer the question about like any future projects and stuff like that.
Okay. All right. So are you guys ready? Okay. Here is the Mad Lib blurb that we all have come up with. While trying to overcome grief, Olana Madu faces another blow when her college sweetheart abruptly ends the relationship. Now, 2 years later, Olana is healing from the hurt as she navigates her new life as the CEO of her family's business. But when her ex shows up at her office as her new client, not only does the pain resurface, but also the feelings for him she once thought had died. If Alex Abin
Oh,
Abig
Obeng.
I'm so sorry. If he had an impressive chocolate to have any prayer answered, he would ask God to turn back the hands of time so he could explain to Alana why he broke her heart. But his desperate attempts to reach out to her for the past 2 years have been futile. When Alex is sent to the sports arena to travel with Olana's company, it seems God has answered all his prayers until he stands face to face with her and can't bring himself to tell her the truth without opening his old wounds. When, with the rekindled dancing growing stronger every day, Olana has to decide whether to give Alex a second chance or protect her flowers from getting burned again. So I cheated. It was hurt, and I know flowers is like plural, but I chose flowers. She's a flower girl,
Yeah.
and and as the pressure mounts on Alex to fight for the woman he loves, he has to choose between being vulnerable enough to tell her the truth or letting her go again.
Wow.
So
That was actually I like the if he could have an impressive chocolate or something like that. That
yes,
was
yes. I was like, I want to put impressive chocolate because don't we all love chocolate and flowers?
of course. And the flowers, like if she to protect her flowers from getting burned again or something like that, that was actually
And then
that
the sports arena. So
yeah,
instead of working with Alana's company, is to travel with her company.
was arena. That yeah, and if you just think about it, like when you just like change like words, how the story could just take a completely different turn and like
Yeah.
not what
Because it
the
almost sounds like they're gonna fight when it says he thought it seemed God had answered all his prayers until he stands face to face with her.
yeah, exactly. And they're going to like a sports arena. That's hilarious. That's actually hilarious. But no, thank you so much. By the way, Tiffany came up with all these games, so yeah, thanks to her for all the fun that we've had today. Because I was all out of games after doing what like 3 release days. I think I was out of it. So
Yeah.
when it really came up with these ones. So yeah, if you're needing any more games inspiration, definitely ask her. um, but yeah, thank you. I think I'll go and answer the question if I can find it. But it was something about future projects. I think we'll be winding
Oh
down now.
yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
ask a question about future projects. So, I mean, if you've been following me or if you're part of my newsletter or you follow me on Instagram, I have mentioned that I'm working on the first book in the next series. So, you guys know this is going to be the end of the Sovereign Love series. I don't know, unless something miraculous happens that spurs me to write another book, but it's not in the works to write another book at the moment. So yeah, this is going to be it for the Sovereign Love series. As much as I've enjoyed these characters, getting to know them, I would also yeah, I would want to move on from them and explore the characters. So the next series is called the Love and Other Things series, which I have mentioned before. I mentioned in like last year during the release day live stream. I mentioned it again this year because I have officially started drafting the first book in that series. I'm done with certain books in the US because I just feel like it's so stressful trying to spell words and to write. Like Ianu actually had to, like, when I sent out the arcs, I don't know if Tiffany you noticed this with the arc copy, like in chapter 2 when it was Alex's point of view in the then timeline, when he was speaking to his friend Kwame, he mentioned about eating crisps. And Ianu was like, in the US, you don't eat crisps. That's a UK thing. It's chips. It's not crisps. And I had to literally go back and change everywhere where I mentioned crisps in that story. It's just too stressful.
Yeah.
How you guys put Z instead of S with like words like organization. How you
Hmm.
is it Snickers instead of trainers that we say?
Yes.
You would say is it pavement or sidewalk? Do you know what? Or a boot of a car instead of like a uh I don't even know the difference now. I'm glad that my editor is American because she really helped me a lot with sort of like replacing these words because it's just too confusing for my brain. But anyway, it's been a blast like actually setting these books in the US, even though I've never been to the US before. Just it's been a blast, like, doing research, watching videos, searching up on Pinterest for like, apartments, how they look inside and places. Like I
Mhm.
remember when I was writing The One Who Knows Me, there's a scene where Tiana and Jaden go to Times Square. And obviously, I've never been to Times Square. So I literally had to go on YouTube and Google or search up like what Times Square looks like, the sort of things that you would find there and stuff. And that was how I was able to write that scene. So it's been a blast, really. But I'm excited to move on to the next series, which is going to be the Love and Other Things series. It will be made up of 3 books by God's grace. Um, it will follow 3 sisters who are Cameroonian, so 3 Cameroonian sisters who are based in London. And it's just basically trying to juggle, following them on their journey, juggling their faith, and also having some sort of like small business. So trying to juggle their faith, their love lives, and their small business. So all the 3 sisters have different sort of like interests. With the first, so the you have the older sister, the middle sister for the second book, and then the youngest sister for the third book. But you see all of them in the 3 books, so you can get to know like their different characters and things. So the first book is following the oldest sister, um, who is actually an author, well, a writer. So the two main characters are writers. I've always wanted to write a book. Well, not always.
Yes.
Not always, but I read this book a few years ago. I think it was 2020 or 2021 about this author. I think her name is, I can't remember. She's a Christian author. I'll find the name of the book later, but she wrote this book about this girl, this woman who was a writer, and she was trying to write her first draft of her novel. And basically she in that book he was also writing the novel, like so it was a story within a story, basically. So you could see
Oh.
story that the woman was drafting. It was a whole other like gripping side of things, like, and then there's the actual story, which is the book, but then the story that the woman was actually writing as well. So I remember when I read that book, I was like, I really want to write a book where at least one of the main characters is an author. So yeah, both of them are going to be authors. She's going to be working on her first book, and we're going to have some like story within a story kind of thing. But
Yes.
hopefully I'm hoping to explore a lot more about the culture in England, the culture in London, like living in London, but also living in London, but being is it first generation, like children, so basically being children of migrants, like the effects of like immigration, like coming to the UK rather than being born here. Exploring the Cameroonian culture, the food, language, all of that, and just trying to um yeah, write more of that. I'm just really excited about that. I'm like 47,000 words into the first draft, and I'm hoping to finish it by the end of November, hopefully, and then I'll be able to think about when the release date would be for next year. Probably will be more towards like not middle, but maybe like third or fourth quarter of the year, because I haven't finished the first draft yet, and this is September. So I'm really excited to write that. But in 2026, like I mentioned earlier in this live stream, I do plan to the book I'm going to publish then is that book I was talking about that's set in Cameroon. And like I said, I don't know if I can call it literary fiction or whatever, but like half of a yellow sun, that's what I would describe it as. Half of a yellow sun, but make it Christian and make it set in Cameroon. Basically, that's what I would describe it as. So that's gonna be in 2026. And then after that, we're gonna continue the Love and Other Things series. That's the plan for now. Obviously, I do have other series that I've talked about before. I do that hopefully at some point I want to work on a royal romance series that's set in a fictional African country.
Ooh.
um, so and that's gonna be 3 books. So I have that somewhere sitting in my phone. And
You're
then
spoiling us.
so that's probably gonna be the series I'll work on after the Love and Other Things series, so the Royal Romance one. And then this year I've actually had some ideas for some standalones, like not in a series. Like there was one standalone I had. It was kind of like a enemies to lovers kind of thing. It'll be interesting to see how that's like works in Christian fiction. See
Yes.
how it's like that. There was another one that I don't know if you know the books that have what's the word? So epistolary novels, when they write the story mainly that is made up of like emails and text messages
Oh
and like
yes, yes.
stuff like that.
News
So
newsletters, or
yeah,
I mean like
exactly.
newspapers.
Yeah, newspapers, letters, and things like to tell the story. I actually did have an idea for a story like that, and that the idea came after I was a judge for like I think earlier this year I was a judge for one of the judges for the African Christian fiction writers and readers community. There was
Oh,
a competition about like different people who sent in entries, like the first 3 chapters of their novel, and one of the entries was an epistolary kind of novel where it was mainly like journal entries and stuff. And I just thought it was a romance novel from the guy's perspective,
ah,
the the woman's perspective, but like it was mainly through like journal entries and letters and things like that. And I just found it really, really intriguing. So I'm just literally like
yes.
working out everything, but that's that's kind of like what I have planned over the next few years, whenever that's gonna come. As you guys know, at the moment, my speed is 1 book a year. I don't think I will be able to write more than that and still juggle like a full-time job. So if you stick with me, hopefully God's grace will empower me to write all these books that I've talked about. So yeah.
I would definitely be sticking with you. Like you got so much in store for us. I don't know which one I'm more excited about.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a few questions. We'll just tackle those questions and then probably I think call it a day. I'm so excited for the shift. I love when books are based around siblings, especially sisters. Yes, yes, I'm excited about that as well. And I love writing sibling relationships. As you can see, I did write a lot about Heather and no, not Heather, sorry, Emmanuel and Olana. I just love writing about their relationship, the banter between them, and how they care
Mhm.
for each other and things like that. So I'm hoping that I would also write that bond between the sisters as well in this book. So that's something I'm looking forward to. What authors inspired you both to create your own stories? Okay, Tiffany, do you have any? Are there any authors specifically that you would say inspired you to create your stories?
Oh, that's
It's a
that's a
hard
good question. I jumped like I'm put on the spot. Let me see.
question. Come back to
Um well, It's kind of hard to say because this particular story has been with me for, I think we're coming up on like 10 years, because
Mhm.
10 years ago, I just graduated homeschool high school
Yeah,
and was signing up for the NaNoWriMo. And I was like, I have to finish a book because I've just been daydreaming about this girl. And so, all that to say that over the years, the initial idea like kept changing and becoming more something that reflects my values, because like I said, at the time I was reading general market books and I thought you couldn't really talk about God in stories. As far fetched as that sounds, I really thought no one wants to publish your book if you talk about God explicitly in the story. And
yeah,
then so that's why I'm so glad that's not true. And I'm still plan on indie publishing just because I love the creative control.
yeah,
So, what would I say, has inspired me to create my story? I mean, I guess I would say, well, the author of creation, the Bible,
yeah.
definitely. There's even certain verses that I will attach to like different books. So like I have my books all in a Google document, and I have like a list of scriptures that inspire different scenes or even like the magic system. And so James 1:17, where it talks about the Father of lights and how he every gift is every perfect gift is good and there's no shadow of turning. I might
Mm,
be uh paraphrasing, but that scripture, like, that's why my book is codenamed Project Gift, because basically the characters, um they have gifts that were given by their creator, but of course, just like with us humans, we might have talents and we don't always choose to glorify him.
mm,
So basically that classic battle of good versus evil is
mhm.
in my prevalent in my books. um but other than that, like, that's why I say check me out on Goodreads, because there's
Yeah.
a lot of books in my head, but for some reason they just won't come to the front.
Yeah, yeah. No,
But
that yeah, yeah. I think definitely do check Tiffany out. I think it's a difficult question. Me per se, I don't think I have like a specific author that I can say this person inspired me to create my own stories. But like I said, as I continue to read other Christian authors, I'm continuously like inspired to work in my own craft and to tell stories about God and about these characters and share the life and love of God. But I don't think that there's any specific author for me specifically who I've read and I'm been like, oh, okay, I want to write my own stories because I've read this author. Well, I suppose I'm lying. I suppose the one about the story I read a few years ago that inspired me to write
oh, the yellow.
yeah, exactly. No, well, the book I read about about the woman who was an author and she was also writing
Oh, yeah, yeah.
story and there was a story within a story. Well, I suppose that's a good, incident, but it wasn't the case for all of my books. I need to find her name. Oh gosh, I need to find her name. I follow her on Instagram. She was one of the authors that I started reading in 2020 when I got back into reading again. She wrote a 3-book series about like life in like Hollywood. And I think the first book
Mm.
yeah, so there was one where he followed like somebody who was like a filmmaker. The other one was like an actor, but Christian fiction. I'm so I'm so sorry, I can't remember her name because she hasn't published a book in a while. But I suppose I could find it on my Kindle. So if you have anything to
Yes.
say to me, you can say, let me just find it quickly on my Kindle. I really need to spotlight her because she hasn't published anything recently, but her books are really good. So I would like to shout her out if I can find it. But basically that's the only instance that I would say that I've read something and then it's been inspired to write another thing. I suppose with Half of a Yellow Sun, even though I mentioned that I kind of use it as like a comp title with this book, this Cameroonian book.
Mhm.
I didn't read Half of a Yellow Sun and then immediately get inspired to write my book. I just realized that, oh, this book I've written is kind of similar to Half of a Yellow Sun, but Christian and set in Cameroon. And just to answer Blessing's question, and I'll go back to Ashanta's question. So she's saying, because Blessing is Cameroonian, she said, will it be featuring Cameroonian's historical background? Because that's what Half of a Yellow Sun does. It's set on the background of the Biafran War that happened in Nigeria, I think in the 1960s. So it's kind of like a historical African fiction. So it's not a historical fiction, but it will be set on the background of war. So if you don't know, for those who are on the live stream, Cameroon, currently there's a civil war going on in Cameroon, and if you follow me on Instagram, I do share about it from time to time. This has been going on since 2016, so 2026 is going to make 10 years since this has been going on. That's why I want to publish it in 2026, so sort of like raising more awareness about this. So it's going to be set on the background of that war. But going back to 2016, 2017, all the events that led up to the Civil War starting. So, and then obviously put the character in the middle of that, dealing with that. So there's that external conflict of the civil unrest, but then there's also the internal conflict of like what's going on in her actual life. So the similarities, the reason why I bring up Half of a Yellow Sun is because it's set in the background of war or civil unrest, but it's Christian because you would follow a Christian character. There is a love story there, as a Christian sort of like romance sort of story. So I hope that answers your question, Blessing. But maybe Tiffany, maybe you can answer this question while I try to find this author I'm talking about. If
Okay.
you
So
consider.
it says they're asking also, do you think you'll ever consider traditionally publishing? Why or why not? Well, for this particular story, like I said, it's been with me for almost 10 years. So back then, I didn't even know indie publishing was an option. And if I did, it was usually like one of those bad covers that you see on the internet, and you kind of feel bad that the author chose a font that just looks, I don't know, it wasn't very appealing. And when people tell you they don't judge a book by its cover, more than likely they're telling you a tale. So
Yeah.
back then, traditionally publishing was like the only goal for me, and like did like heavy research on what does it mean to query. I even like scrolled through the manuscript wish list. I think it's like a website where these different agents what they're looking for in the manuscript. And I would keep that in mind as I was drafting my book. But I always felt like my book wasn't gonna fit with these general market um publishing companies, because I always felt like, even though I didn't know at the time that Christian fiction like was, becoming popular, I just thought I just can't imagine like with general market how they're starting to make people like, well, I won't say make people, but they encourage authors to make it more spicy, is to be enticing to readers or something like that.
Yeah.
So now I know there is Christian publishers, like there's Enclave Publishing. That's good for any of you that might be interested in finding good, clean, and or Christian fantasy that you don't have to worry about certain types of content.
Mhm.
That is a publisher that I look up to, but for this particular project, I just have so many ideas that I want to execute, and be in control of the creativity. I actually want to launch a Kickstarter in, I won't say what year, but in the
Yeah.
near future. And so I've have ideas, and I've been studying what's successful on Kickstarter, like different campaigns. So that's an avenue that I'm seriously considering, which means I'll be indie publishing this series. But I do have other story ideas that I would be open to maybe querying a Christian traditional publisher. Um, but as of right now, it's indie for me, and it's because of the creative control.
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree. And yes, it's mainly indie for me because I love the creative control. I love that I'm able to have stats, data, to relate with my readers, make those decisions. It's been a blast doing it the last 3 years. I do have some ideas for young adults stories, so young adult, but like contemporary young adult, like set in London and stuff.
So
And
excited.
yeah, and I actually have outlined the first of like young adult story. I have quite a few ideas, but because I've been focusing on the adult ones and like trying to get write those, I've not actually had the time to go back and actually work on this young adult story. The thing about young adult is that because the audience is slightly different, I feel like with young adult stories like that, sometimes having like a traditional publisher sort of like with their connections and stuff to be able to reach those readers is quite helpful. So when I ever write that young adult story, that's the only stories that I would be open to querying. Not my Christian romance, not my adult ones. I feel like God helping me, I have been able to build um a community, and I know who my ideal readers are. I know where to find them. I know how to engage with them. And I think, thank glory to God, I am doing well in trying to reach them. So
Yes.
I feel like everything I'm doing now, I don't really necessarily need the backing of like a a publisher, whatever, to help me do what I'm doing, because I feel like I have been successful in what I'm doing so far by God's grace. But with the young adult, when I eventually write that, I think that's something I would definitely be open to querying. So yeah, I did leave the name of the author. Her name is Michelle Keener, and her Red
Mm.
Carpet Romance series is that's the series I was talking about that actually I really enjoyed. Is set in LA, I think, with where the Hollywood sign is, and you can just like
Yes.
explore being Christians in that environment. The book that I read that has an author writing a story, it's called Light on Glass. I don't know if you can see the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Right.
called Light on Glass, and I really, really enjoyed that story. It's more of I would say maybe more of like a women's fiction, I would say, because it's like an older woman who is like, middle aged. She's married with children, but she's just trying to find time to write her book. And then her husband tells her to go on a writing retreat on her own, like a solo writing retreat for a week, so that she can write her story. And like we would be able to draft the whole book in a week, but some people can do that. So she goes off on this writing retreat to this sort of really nice secluded place, and basically, like I said, there's a story within a story. So she's writing like a historical, like romance kind of story. So that story is gripping. So you see bits of that story as she works on it, but you also see like the people that she meets, like when she goes to this place on her journey, what she learns about it. I really enjoyed the book, and yeah, I think if you guys want to check it out, her name's Michelle Keener. She's on Instagram as well. So yeah.
Yes, I
Okay.
wrote that down. That sounds like a fun book.
So I think it's going to be the last question, and then we can call it a day. So, any advice on what type of freebies to offer in a newsletter if you don't have any stories to share? Oh, okay, interesting. So excuse me. So what Ashanti is asking is basically, so a newsletter would be, a way of you like collecting email addresses for potential readers or people who want to follow your journey. And basically it's something that a lot of experts with like marketing and stuff for authors do recommend, because it's one way that you can build a community and nurture that community, because you can share exclusive behind the scenes about what's going on with you as an author, and also give them access to, first dibs to what's going on. So if you have news about your book, you can share it with them first. If you're a cover reveal or giveaway and things like that, you can do it just with them, which is what I've been doing. I mean, Tiffany's part of my newsletter, so she could tell me. So me personally, I wrote a short story like 4 years ago, and then I used that short story as an incentive, because people would like to have something. If they want to give you their email address, which is very personal to them, sometimes they want to have something in return, which, if they like, then they can be inspired to check out more of your work. But I suppose, yes, it can be quite difficult if you only have one story, that's the only thing you're working on, you don't necessarily have any other thing to give. It doesn't necessarily have to be a story. It could be, say, maybe if you're open to doing that, maybe like the first chapter of the story you're working on, just to give them a bit of incentive. Some people share, I don't know, if they've published something before, they can have like a prologue or like an extended epilogue, which is just exclusive to the people who sign up to the newsletter. Depending on like if you're some nonfiction authors share like guides or like checklists or like I don't know. It may be something related to your book, or you could so you could do something like Tiffany now, who has like a long list of lots of fantasy, like other fantasy authors, and you could literally, because these are going to be readers, hopefully, that you want to build a community of, you could say, oh, if you sign up to my newsletter, I'm going to send you something, e copy of a whole list of other Christian fantasy books that you can check out, stuff like that. And they will be interested and be like, oh, yes, I want to find out about more Christian fantasy authors. And then they will sign up to your newsletter. You send that directly to them because it's an e-copy, so you don't necessarily have to send them anything physical. And then they will be able to check out those other authors, and some readers will appreciate that. So those are all just some ideas I'm just throwing around there. It doesn't have to be a story. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. Like I said, it could, if you're comfortable, probably maybe the first, like just a little bit of what you're working on, if you're comfortable sharing. But if not, you can literally, I'm sure if you search or Google some other ideas for freebies, you could potentially find something. So yeah, I don't know if you have
Yeah.
any.
I think those are all good ideas. And then sometimes what I like to do, like I don't have a newsletter yet, but I have been compiling a list of ideas that I would offer to subscribers once I do get my newsletter, together and out there.
Yeah,
But one idea that I've heard from a different author is that for some reason people like coloring pages, and so you could actually go on Canva and it's free, like certain features you do have to pay for, but a lot of it is free. You'll just have to make sure that you see which element you're trying to use, and you could create like an adult coloring page that's
yeah,
maybe related to the book that you're working on. So like say if you're writing a romance, maybe you'll put like, I don't know, intricate flowers and hearts or something like that. I don't know.
yeah, yeah,
Or if you're writing fantasy, maybe you'll find a dragon if you have a dragon in your book or something like that.
yeah,
So that's one idea. And then also, I think what helps is when you try to think about what you like when you sign up to a to a newsletter,
yeah,
what usually makes you subscribe to the newsletter? If it's a new to you author, so there's no history on why you're subscribing, what would make you sign up? And then thirdly, also thinking about your audience. So like say if there's any other authors here who are writing Christian fiction that's like has like African or multicultural characters, maybe
mhm,
you'll create like a list of
mhm,
other Christian romance with African multicultural characters and say, if you like this, I'll send you this list, subscribe to my newsletter. So then now you got people who are interested in your book because that's what you're writing and they just discovered all these other authors.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I liked what you said, Joni, with depending on the genre you're writing,
yeah.
maybe that's a list of that you can provide to your potential readers.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that the coloring book, I never thought of that. Literally, like as you can see, it could be anything really. It doesn't have to be a story. I feel like people do they feel the pressure to have something like to write a short story. It doesn't have to be that. You can just be as creative as as you can be and do what you can. I'm sure because it's free, people are definitely gonna appreciate it. Everybody likes free stuff. So don't stress about it too much. Do what you can, and I'm sure the people who are interested in you and will find you. So yeah, I think that's great. But yeah, I think that's the last question. And Tanya says, congratulations, can't wait to read the new book of the series. Thank you so much, Tanya. I hope it blesses you. And she's appreciate you both for giving your take on the questions. No problem. Okay,
Welcome.
I think I think that we have probably come to the end. I'm just looking just to make sure that we don't have anything else. I think we've answered everybody's questions. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this. And I'm just glad that we're able to just hang out together. Thank you for coming to celebrate this release with me. If you guys have read this book, well, if you haven't read it, then all the links are down below. If you're interested in getting a copy, I've left all the links below. And if you have read it, I'll encourage you to please leave a review, because as you guys have gathered, I'm an indie author, and reviews are very important to make sure that other people can also see that they will be blessed by it, basically, because if they read reviews and they see that they resonate with what you've written, then they also encourage them to check out the book. So please do leave a review on the platform that you bought it on, or you can leave it on Goodreads if you want to. That would be very much appreciated. But thank you guys so much. If you want to join, if you want to be part of my newsletter, now that we're talking about newsletters, the link to
Yes.
also down below. The freebie I'm giving is a free short story, very, very short story, which is called A Promise to Keep. And it follows this Nigerian couple as they go through like ups and downs in their journey. But basically, if you just click on the link, you can put in your email address, and then you get sent a link to download. So that link is in the cards. You would get exclusive access to behind the scenes. I share a lot of stuff with my newsletter subscribers that I don't share on social media, personal stuff. You'll be the first to, you get a lot of like advantages, like you're the first to know about. I always announce to my new subscribers about title reveals, cover reveals. The opportunity to be part of my book launch team was only open to my newsletter subscribers. I don't ask anybody else outside of my community to be part of my book launch team, and I do giveaways there quite regularly as well. So yeah, all in all, come and join us. I'm sure you will be blessed as well. So yeah, thank you guys so much. Tiffany, do you have anything to say or to add? Or are you okay?
Um, I, yeah, I think that was, I had so much fun, as always, hanging out with you virtually. Sometimes I wish I could just teleport across the pond and hang out with you for a day. But for now, I'll just have to accept like reading your newsletters and your books.
Yeah, I'm very hopeful that someday we'll see in person, Tiffany. I'm very, very hopeful.
Yes.
Very, very hopeful about that. I know that's gonna happen by God's grace. So don't you worry. um
Yes.
okay. But thank you so much for hanging out with me. Tiffany, if you do want to do the closing prayer, or do you want me to do it?
Uh, well, uh, yes, I guess I can do that. So, well, first, Heavenly Father, we're thankful for all the beautiful, wonderful ladies that showed up here today to celebrate with Joni. We thank you, Lord, for blessing the hands of Joni and just blessing her with the mind and heart for you and showcasing that in the beautiful stories that she co writes with you, Lord. And we pray that these books, the Sovereign Love series, will find the right readers and that these readers will be blessed by the words that are on those page, and more importantly, all the words that you would whisper to their hearts as they read these stories and as other people come across their path, showing your love and your light, the love of Christ through them to these readers. And we just pray for these wonderful ladies here who are watching now. We pray that that their community continues to grow so that they can continue loving these stories with other fellow readers that love these type of stories. And we pray for anyone that is also going to catch the replay, that they would also be blessed by this interview, by Joni's books, and and well, and I think that's all. So thank you, Lord, so much for this wonderful day and just the gift of your word, that you are the author of our lives and that you're there to know us and to love us and to see us and hold us. And we just thank you and give all the glory to you. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for hanging out with me. Thank you guys for your patience, because I know we had some technical
Yes.
difficulties, which is what, yes, always happens with StreamYard. I wish YouTube had an option to do like group lives like this. If not, I wouldn't have used StreamYard
Yes.
YouTube. But anyway, I didn't have to end the live and restart it, so we thank God for that.
Yes.
Thank you all so much. Blessing, I'm so happy that you were able to join us today because I know you told me that you wouldn't be able to make it. So I'm glad that you were here and you even participated in the games. Thank you so
Yes.
Thank you, Bella, for being part of the live stream and for celebrating with me. I'm gonna let you guys go because it's almost 10 p.m. for me now. I can't believe that we've been on here for that long. But hey, time flies when you're having fun. Blessing says she's looking forward to reading your books and that may Abba strengthen you and see you to the very end. Amen. Yes,
Thank you, Blessing.
I'm
Thank
sure
you.
this wouldn't be the last time that we hear from Tiffany. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for being here. I think we need to end the live now.
Yes. Well, I hope you all, I don't know what time it is for all of you guys, but whether it's a morning, night, or afternoon, I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Yes.
And
Have a
God
good rest.
bless you all as well.
Bless you, Bettina. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining. Have a good evening, afternoon, morning. Bye.
Bye bye.